welcome to the show. Take the headphones off, it's all good. Welcome to Sucio Talk. I'm here with Chef Jordan Guevara. Used to be chef at Gap Year at Nico, has an extensive career in food. Right now he is a software engineer at Pando. Do I got that right, Chef?
That is correct, yeah,
All right,
Pando.
amazing. How you doing, Chef?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Awesome, bro. Awesome. I feel like we've covered a lot while we've been here already, but it's okay. We're in the podcast anyway. It's all good. I'll probably have you on again.
Nice. That'd be awesome, man.
So software engineer, how did you even get into that from cooking?
Yeah. As everyone talks about on the show, not everyone, but most people, the food industry can be kind of rough. And I think, the pandemic happened. We were running that restaurant Gap Year. It was going really, really well. I think we all kind of in the beginning thought that it was going to be, 2 weeks,
right,
3 weeks,
yeah, everyone
a
did.
month, whatever, and then as it went on and on and on, I mean, I would say for the first 6 months of it, I was like, of course I'm coming back to cooking. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I've done for my entire life. I love it, whatever. And then after probably like 6 months, my partner started taking a boot camp for digital marketing.
Right.
Which is also a chef. She's a pastry chef. She's a pastry chef at Gap Year.
Okay.
And she started doing it, and even still, I was like, "No, this is what I do." You know what I mean? I'm a fucking cook. I've been cooking since I was 14 years old.
Right.
But I don't know. I was like, I don't know. Can I do something else? You know what I mean? Like, this is actually all I've ever done.
Right.
And I decided, like, I think that at least challenging myself to try something would be interesting, to kind of like go back to when you first started cooking, when you were young, when you first started something and you knew nothing.
Right.
And see if I still had that same energy and
tenacity.
drive. Right, exactly, that I had when I first started cooking. So I started looking into it. I took like a couple online courses because it's about the internet, right? Like that's what they do.
Right.
So there's just like tons and tons and tons and tons of information and free courses and whatnot. So I took a couple of them, and actually I found out that I really enjoyed it because it's, in a way it's creative, not so dissimilar from cooking in a lot of ways, to be honest.
Right.
It's like, it's very technique driven, and it's like all problem solving, right? It's like a little bit like math. It's not super mathy, but it's a little bit like math, but
right.
It's just like looking at something, breaking it down into way smaller sections, and then completing little things at a time. So
right.
It's like, solve a bigger problem.
And we're talking about coding here.
Yeah.
So, I've heard a lot of people talk about coding in the simplest terms. What is it?
Yeah.
Like what program do you code on? You know what I mean? I don't even know that.
Yeah. So there's like there's things called IDEs, and this is like what you actually code into. It's really complex, but like at a base level, you pick a language, and some languages can do everything. Some languages are meant to do very specific things.
Right.
Like pretty much everything you see on the web is from a language called JavaScript, at least in the front end of things. Right. You pick a language, and then you literally write words to make things happen, like a website you use.
Right.
It's all just syntax and words and if conditionals, like if this happens, then do this. If they click this, then make that happen.
Right. So you're building a map for the website.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's interesting because there's the front and the back, right? When people say like some people are front end engineers or web developers, you think of like specifically the things you see on your computer screen or on your phone screen is what that front end engineer is doing. They're building like what it looks like, what the button feels like, what happens when you click it, yada yada. And then there's back-end engineers, which like when a front-end engineer says like this button takes you to a different page or grabs this set of information,
right,
it goes to the back-end, and the back-end says, all right, we need to grab all of this stuff from the database, like a list of information, and then gives it back to the front end, and then the front end displays it. So it's like this constant back and forth between the front and the back.
Right.
Some people are full stack. The boot camp that I took taught full stack in mostly front end stuff, but taught you some back end stuff. And
right.
Currently the job I'm working on, I'm doing both, which is really super exciting because I think like, I don't know, not that it means much to this podcast, but the back end stuff is really interesting because it's way more abstract.
Yeah.
Like you're not building something that you can see, but you're still building something that is super important, right? Like the entire front end is based off of what happens in the back end.
Right.
Again,
it's like
not
making
too
charcuterie.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
It's like
right,
you don't know what the fuck this shit's gonna taste like in 6 months.
exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's interesting, and again, like not too dissimilar from a restaurant, right? Like the front of the house delivers the food to the people, and the back of the house makes the food happen.
Yeah.
Right? Takes this product, turns it into whatever it needs to be like, and then gives it to the front, and the front gives it to the consumer, the user. Yeah.
My friend Tyler Vorse, who's one of the owners of Truffle Shuffle, he was telling me about engineers and how they think, and he's like, they're like cooks. They're like they have their own dishes that they make that they're really super proud of, and like they talk shit to each other, like, oh, what is that? What, you don't know how to cook, or you know?
I think it's a bit more polite, but there's a lot of shit talking. It's definitely the company I work for is like honestly, I got so lucky, right? It's like a super diverse group of people.
Yeah.
No one on the team, or maybe one person on the team, only went to school for computer science. Like everyone else is like switched careers. Like our like tech lead, his name is Alex. He was in the circus for like 4 years as like a acrobat.
Really?
Yeah, like a trapeze swinger.
Okay.
Just like really interesting, diverse group of people like that aren't like, because you hear a lot about in the tech industry like people gatekeeping. You know, they're like, you know, you got to have 4 years of, you know, you have to go to this certain university.
Well, that's like
have
us.
10 years
If you didn't
experience.
work Michelin,
right,
you're no
exactly.
good. It's like,
right,
fuck
right.
that shit.
Yeah,
man.
it doesn't mean anything,
No.
you know, and I think like, again, like I was really scared that I wasn't going to be able to do anything else because food was all I knew, right? And you realize how many transferable skills there really are. Like all that shit that you do cooking on a daily basis will transfer to whatever you do in the future, if you do something in the future,
Right.
You know, like all of those bits of organization, the work ethic, every single bit of cooking transfers, right? The creativity, the thought process, everything, everything transfers, man. It's pretty wild. I think that I'm growing way faster than I thought at the company that I'm working at, and it's 100% because of work ethic, and that all comes from cooking, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, here on Sucio Talk, we take it all the way back.
Yeah.
So we're going to Tampa, Florida right now, right?
Florida. Actually, born in Dunedin, Florida.
Okay.
When I was 1, moved to New York, which is where both my parents kind of grew up. My dad was born in Puerto Rico. My mom was born in New York.
Where in Puerto Rico?
San Juan.
Right. Both Puerto Ricans?
No, just my dad.
Okay.
My mom is like mostly Italian, but like some German.
Okay.
Some Irish.
Awesome.
So
food must have been really interesting growing up.
Honestly, food was really dope. Like when my parents got divorced when I was in like middle school or whatever.
Yeah.
But before that, my mom like did a couple things, but she like ran a daycare out of the house.
Okay.
And she would spend a lot of time cooking. So like we would come home from school, or, you know, when we were younger, just like be at home all day or whatever. My mom would make like, you know, coursed out Italian meals like manicotti and like super sick salads and really delicious garlic bread and desserts and, you know, whatever. She was a really awesome cook. We grew up eating super delicious food.
Right.
And then when we moved to Florida, we were a bit closer to my dad's side of the family. So we would go over to my TT Sharon's house almost every Saturday. She would have this big fucking party. You know what I mean? Like only Puerto Rican people, fucking loud ass salsa music. Like everyone's like my uncle had like a little back room area.
Yeah.
Where they kept the dogs, you know, like all of his Rottweilers and pit bulls and shit.
The wooden Puerto Rican machetes.
Yeah, exactly. And he would, I mean, all of the guys would just like smoke cigars and fucking drink and play bones. Like they played dominoes all fucking night.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All fucking night was dominoes. All the kids would be out front. They had like a little basketball court set up, so we would all play basketball out front. And then, you know, all the ladies would like hang out and listen to music and dance and cook and whatever. So we grew up eating like a bunch of Puerto Rican food too. And my mom like loves Puerto Rican food, so she learned how to cook it from my aunt.
Dope.
So she started cooking Puerto Rican food at the house all the time, which was awesome as well. And she would kind of put her like, you know,
A little German spin on it.
Yeah, a little Italian spin on it, you know. She would add some things here and there that made it a little bit different. That I think, you know, I did a Puerto Rican pop up. I don't know. I guess it's like 5-6 years back now.
Okay, where at?
You know Kim Alter at Nightbird?
Yeah.
I used to work for her, but she let me do it at her space. So
Okay.
we did a little.
You see that Yelp thing that happened to her? So
No, I heard about this thing that's going on, right?
So basically it's like these families from other countries, super impoverished people, messaging on Yelp and being like, hey, we will tear you down with 1-star reviews until you pay us this money. Right. And that's not the only restaurant that's been
the Morris, I think it happened to.
I put a story out. Somebody in DC was like, oh, this just happened to me.
It's crazy. Honestly, like,
do you think it'll be the death of Yelp?
I fucking hope that.
I hope so, right?
Honestly, like,
I haven't read into it much, but you know, do you need to pay to be on the platform, like featured on the platform, or do you just get on it because people?
Well, actually, I'm not entirely positive. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but every restaurant that I've ever worked at in like Gap Year was already part of Yelp.
Yeah, because I've seen managers' responses from places.
Yeah, I think you just need to create an account and you can list yourself on Yelp. Again,
Gotcha.
Not 100% positive. Don't take me for that. But
it's all good. You know, don't matter.
But yeah, honestly, like, you know, I think Yelp ultimately did a lot of good for the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
Like, it made people really curious. But not everyone's a critic. Like, not everyone has to know your opinion on things, in my opinion.
Not everyone's opinion is the right opinion on the thing.
Right.
So I feel like there's a lot of restaurants out there that could have been great had they been given more of a chance.
Yeah, it's really a shame. And honestly, like, I think about, like, you know, you got people leaving reviews, you know, 1-star reviews, like, didn't eat the food but couldn't get in, 1 star. Like, get the fuck out of here, you know what I mean? Like, you've seen that shit, you know?
I have. It's ridiculous.
Like, I mean, like, if you're giving, like, an actual genuine opinion about it, even still, I think, like, you know, fuck off a little bit. But if it's a genuine opinion about the food, about the service, it's a little bit better. But the fact that you could write a review, 1-star reviews over and over and over again to get money from someone, you know, it's like, I don't know, something's wrong with the platform. You know what I mean?
The fact is, I feel like people live and die by Yelp. They go on Yelp, oh, this restaurant has 1 star, I'll never go there. And it's like, okay, what are you doing for that place? You know?
I mean, funny enough, I go on Yelp to see what's around me. I don't like look at reviews and shit like that because it doesn't really matter to me. I'll like go on Yelp, see what's close to me if I'm traveling or whatever, and then look at pictures of the food and like decide for myself, you know?
Right.
I think that it's important that there's something like that, but there are many platforms that do that, right? Like, you can do that on OpenTable, you can do that on
TripAdvisor, Talk.
Talk.
Well, Resi and Talk and all those kinds of apps are becoming sort of social media platforms.
Yeah.
Like, you can be on Talk, have a profile, like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Everything.
It's like coming, kind of becoming like an Instagram / like MySpace. Like, you have like restaurant profiles.
Wow, chef. You're bringing it back.
Yeah. But seriously though, it seems more like it's not just Instagram where it's a bunch of photos of food and whatever. Like, there's information, you tell a bio or whatever about a restaurant. It feels more like, I guess, like Facebook. Or MySpace or whatever.
I would say Instagram to me is a scrapbook.
Yeah.
Of like, it's things that I want to remember, that I want to scroll through and see, because we all, as phones progressed in cell phones, and I'm sure you deal with this problem now, you have fucking 8,000 photos on your phone.
Yeah.
You're not going to scroll through 8,000 photos.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like Instagram is that, like, chapter. Yeah, your chapter marking. You're like, all right, I did this cool thing, boom, put it right here.
It's also a fucking popularity contest.
100%. But do you think that's another big issue? I feel like, because I use Instagram to promote my fucking podcast, right?
And you should.
Yeah, and it's like, but sometimes I ride that line of like, am I like begging for attention? Like, is this?
I don't think
like,
so.
Is this
man.
right? I don't know.
I definitely went through that when I was doing Gap Year. I was posting like as frequently as possible with all these new dishes and whatever.
We were all following, bro. We all saw.
I'm
like, this dude's fucking crust work is amazing. Your dough, where'd you learn that technique?
From Nico.
Okay.
So the dude that owns Gap Year, him and his wife own Nico. It was Nico originally, and now it's Maison Nico. Who's doing just pâté en croûte. But it's from France. I don't remember exactly where in France. Like, actually, it's like an hour outside of Paris.
Right.
And he's like this. I mean, he could be a fucking model. He's beautiful. He's like this. He's like 6'5". He does like CrossFit. I'm serious. Like biceps like down
just
here,
fucking
man.
Bigger
just
than
like
your head.
Ripped. You know? Like, one of the days when I first started working there, he did a triathlon in the morning, right? A fucking triathlon, like a real hardcore triathlon, biking, swimming, running, right? And it was 5 hours long. He did it in the morning. He came into work afterwards and started working. And I was like, chef, seriously? like just go home.
You need to
know what I
calm
mean?
down,
yeah,
sir.
just go
I'm gonna
home.
have to ask
You're
you to
making
go
everyone
home.
feel real bad right now. You know, that guy, honestly, one of the best chefs I've worked for, and his food like it wasn't necessarily like what I wanted to cook. You know,
Right.
especially as like a younger cook, I appreciate it more now that I've been cooking for a little bit longer. But this is like the type of chef that is there before you, leaves after you, and it's not to make you feel guilty. He's like taking out the trash with you. He's fucking scrubbing the plancha at the end of the night, and not like on occasions, like every fucking night.
Right.
At the end of the night, he's scrubbing a flat top with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they don't make people like that.
No, they don't.
You know what I mean?
They don't.
And I feel often like a lot of chefs will do that to make you feel guilty.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
It's not. It's just like in his head, this is his establishment, right?
Right.
And
He's
like,
gonna.
who would he be if he left 2 hours early and let you break down all by yourself or
Right.
whatever? You know what I mean? He was like a very genuinely good person.
Yeah.
Like he really cared about the happiness of his people, which, as we all know, is a not something that happens very often.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how long before you took over Gap Year did you work at Nico before that?
Yeah. So Nico was funny. Like I had just finished Bocuse d'Or, and I decided that I wanted to do my own food. I was feeling super fucking inspired.
I bet, man.
From working with
Now
Kirkley.
Bocuse, like the Olympics of cooking,
Yeah.
right? And we'll get into that later when we get back on the trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
But what's it like partying at Bocuse? Because like it's got to be like the Olympic Village.
Yeah.
There's fucking chefs out there trying to be the best. Like those are wild people.
Yeah.
Or is it like no, go to bed at 8?
Dude, it was like go to bed at 8.
Very strict.
Honestly, like we were so hyper focused.
Yeah.
You know.
Is there any other teams that you're like, how are these guys doing this?
Yeah.
It's like
honestly,
going out partying and fucking coming back and crushing it.
Oh, actually, you know what? I don't really know. I know the Argentinian team when we competed in Mexico was pretty. They were having a good time.
Yeah, they were getting after it.
Yeah. We made
they
good
win,
friends
Chef?
with them. I think they got third in Mexico.
Okay.
Argentina. Yeah. They did really, really good. The dude that was competing for them had worked at Geranium in Denmark.
Oh, is that how you say it, Chef? Geranium?
I think it's Geranium.
I've been saying geranium my whole life.
It's probably geranium for us, but I've heard
Yeah.
it pronounced geranium.
Okay, so we're just going to say geranium now.
We're gonna say geranium and geranium.
It's all good.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that dude Rasmus Kofet, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
He has done Bocuse for like 10 years, right? So like it happens every 2 years. He got third place one year, his first year competing. He got second place the next time he competed, and he did it again to get first place, right? And then after that, coached for 2 of the years as well.
Right.
Been doing it for a really long time. He's
Right.
like super, super into it. So I think like being in that environment for the dude that ran for the team in Argentina, I can't remember his name, but he was like into it, like he loved it.
Right.
It's interesting. Like Bocuse is like a really, really big deal for a lot of countries, but in America, it's just kind of like people that have been doing it in the industry like know about it. But like in France, normal people know what Bocuse
Know
d'Or
what
is.
Bocuse d'Or is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like go to the competition. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Like, who can you go spectate, and how many people are spectating?
Yeah, there were. I think there were 10,000 people there when we were.
Okay.
When we were doing the competition, but yeah, it's huge. It's
Yeah.
like a
Well,
huge
since we're on this
stadium.
topic, let's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
break it down.
Yeah.
Bocuse, how do you get picked for that yourself? As a
yes, so-
first as a restaurant, and
Right.
then as your experience as a cook.
Yeah. So there is an organization called Mentor BKB.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of a not-for-profit. They help like young chefs like do stages at places. They give like grants and stuff like that.
Right.
It's a great organization, honestly, but they also raise funds for Bocuse. So every year they hold, or every 2 years, they hold a competition for as many teams that sign up. It could be 3, like the year that we competed, or 10 if there were that many people interested.
Right.
And you have to compete for your spot as like Team USA.
Okay.
So I met Kirkley, and when we go back, we can talk a little bit further about it. But like Kirkley took over Qua when I was working at Qua.
Right.
And I met him there, and we became pretty close. Like, when he took over, I put in my notice because I was like, had been at Qua for 2.5 years, and I was like, I don't know if I want to like go through that
Go through
change
another
of guard.
transition.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's
So
like getting a new dad.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
At a place
Awkward.
that you already feel like I had been there for a really long time. I understood Qua like deeply.
Right.
And I didn't want to like see it change into something else. Even if it was going to be better, it was like,
and then be
my
that
brain
guy
wasn't ready
that's
for
like,
it.
we used to do it this way, chef.
Exactly. I didn't want to be that fucking guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I knew that I would have been that guy.
Oh, of course.
So I was like,
We're all
I gotta,
that guy.
I got to get out. You know, I don't want to look like an asshole in front of this dude.
Yeah.
And I knew about Kirkley before from L2O, right? Like,
Right.
I knew his food was fucking crazy, you know? And probably part of me leaving was just being scared, to be honest. Like, seeing that type of food, like, the food we were doing at Qua was intricate, but the food that Kirkley was doing at L2O was, like, next level, you know?
Right.
And I had never cooked food like that. You know, like, my knife skills were pretty good, but they weren't, like, you know, perfect 2 millimeter Brunoise.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I could never.
Yeah.
I'm so, like, that's my Achilles heel when it comes to
yeah.
I remember I was prepping this dish one time, like we were doing R&D at Meadowood, and Chef John comes behind me and he's like, "Oh, are you doing a dish inspired by shitty knife cuts?" And I'm like, "Yes, chef." You know, so
yeah. So you know, I had met him. I had put in my notice. Everyone else was staying, so he actually ended up working a station next to me. Our fish cook walked out.
Right.
James Lee, I'm looking at you.
James Lee walked out, bro?
You know James Lee?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's call him out right now.
James Lee is one of my best friends.
Okay.
Honestly. He worked for me at Gap Year. I brought him to work with me at Gap Year.
Okay, got you.
He was like my
walked out during service?
Right before service. He finished his prep.
Oh, okay.
Left notes. He like put tape on everything. He said, cook these specifically in
Yeah.
the steamer for 5.5 minutes. These get steamed for 6.5 minutes, whatever. He was super caring because he knew that I was going to have to work that station that night.
Right. But he's like, I'm walking out of here.
Yeah, he was done with it.
I don't
He was
give a
done with
fuck.
it. If anyone knows James Lee, they know about his history. He's honestly like, I think maybe the best cook I've ever worked with. He's a wonderful human. He's just doesn't take shit, you know what I mean? And he was getting too much shit, and he decided it wasn't fucking.
It's not worth it. Yeah, for sure. There's some people that don't live that yes chef life.
Yeah.
Even though they're in it.
He is that yes chef life if he respects you as a chef.
Right.
Like
okay,
if
he's one of those. You got
like
to earn it.
He fucking loved Nico. He worked with Nico before we were doing Gap Year, right?
Right.
He loved him. He'd do anything for him. Honestly, like not that Nico was abusive at all, but he would take the abuse from Nico because he respects how hard that man works, right?
Right.
But if you're just like, you know, the chef that comes in 5
minutes
hours
before
later,
service,
right?
yeah,
Exactly.
yelling at people.
You know,
Why is
he's just
this like this?
Like, who are you to yell at me,
Yeah,
motherfucker?
you weren't here all day.
Yeah, exactly. I was here. I've been here sweating my ass off for you.
Exactly.
You know? Anyways, I didn't hate James at the time for doing that. Like I totally understood, you know? In fact, like the courage that it took to do it, right?
Yeah.
Was pretty amazing to me.
And how he did it was pretty badass.
Yeah,
That's
it was pretty
bad.
badass. He
It's not like he left, you know, with you're fucked, you don't have any fish. Like,
didn't do any prep. Like he prepped everything and more of everything and left instructions on how to cook it properly and whatever. He loved us. He just didn't love what was going on.
the place, got you.
Anyway, so Matt Kirkley was working fish station because James had left, right? So we were working next to each other. I was working meat at the time at Qua. And we would just bullshit back and forth. And I think that he like kind of decided that he was okay like being friendly with me because I wasn't going to be his cook.
Right.
Because I was leaving.
Yeah.
So we would, you know, get a fucking tall boy and sit in the alleyway and drink a beer and talk about, you know, French cookbooks and whatever, you know? So I kind of got close to him. After that, I left Qua, went to go do single thread. My partner was working at Qua. She became the pastry chef there.
Right.
And I would see him all the time. I would go pick up my partner at the time and like hang out with Kirkley and whatever. We just kind of became friends. And I remember one night, at that time I was working at Lazy Bear and I had just started there, unfortunately, which I still feel bad about. But I went to the bar with the whole Qua group.
Right.
And I was talking to Kirkley and Kirkley was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I wanted to tell you about it. I'm doing Bocuse store, which I had already known about. He's like, and I was wondering if you would like to help.
And you were like, fuck
and I was
yeah.
like, yeah, instantly. I
That's
said
the
yes.
Olympics, bro.
Right, yeah. Like I there's no way I could have said no. And I knew that I was gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And he told me like, at first I can't pay you because it's not technically a Qua thing, right? Like I'm spending my own money to do this.
Right.
But I'll buy you cigarettes, I'll buy you beer, and I'll give you a ride home every night.
Oh fuck yeah, baby.
And I was like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. You know, this
all
this
you
is
need.
huge. Right, exactly. Right, exactly. So so that's what I did, man. I put in my notice the next day at Lazy Bear. I felt really bad because I had taken a sous chef position there and I had only been there like I don't know, 4 months or something.
Oh.
Which is shitty to do, but it was like, I think David Barsley understood. You know, it was like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Well,
like, when does that happen?
You know.
Yeah. So he was cool with it. Put in my notice the next day. I started a month later with Kirkley, and then we trained for, I think it was 3 months before we did the competition in Las Vegas.
Right.
So that was the competition that got us to beat Team USA.
Okay.
And then there's 2 more competitions after that. One in Mexico, which is like the qualifying for like the big competition in Leon.
Right.
And then you actually compete in Leon in the next year in January.
And this, the facility that they do it in, is it the same facility every year? Is it like a stadium that they rent out and put camp kitchens in?
Oh, the actual competition?
Yeah.
They do it at a place in Lyon, France, every single time it's in Lyon.
Yeah.
And it's called the Syrah. It's like I think it's like a big hotel chain
Yeah.
or something like that, but they have like huge like convention centers as
Right,
well.
right.
So it's in a convention center. It's also like a food show. So like there's a competition happening in one section, and then everywhere else it's like people selling, you know, breast chicken and like cheeses and
Okay.
whatever. It's like a huge thing. So not only do people come for Bocuse, but they come for the food convention as well.
Okay. And then how does the competition break down? Are you judged on dishes? Are you judged on entire meals?
It's everything. So
Prep too?
yeah.
Like they're looking at your mise en place, like look at this dice sucks.
Like that, but also like cleanliness of your station,
Okay.
timeliness, organization, everything, right? Like every single thing that you as a cook are being judged on by your chef or whatever, they're like actually critiquing.
And who's the judges? Are they former chefs or are they like critics?
No, these are like MOFs. Like, you know, they're all walking around with their medals and like you know, French flags on their
CEC.
Yeah. No, but like MOFs though.
Yeah.
Like you know, I don't even remember what that thing is called. The certified CDC or whatever.
Oh, the certified master chef.
ACF.
The ACF,
Yeah.
American Culinary Federation.
Something like
Foundation.
that. Yeah. Not that. MOF is like a really big deal in France. It's
Okay.
like, MOF is like a thing where, and it's not just for cooking. It's for literally any trade in France, right? Like a cheesemaker, a shoemaker, a person that makes clothing, a person that makes hats, a painter, like anything, right? Like
Dude, they take care of their craft so much over there.
Right, exactly. They love it. It's a really important to them. And like you go take a test for whatever trade it is.
Right.
And you can be certified as an MOF. And like, you know, people, when you're looking for a high quality jacket or a great meal.
Okay.
In France, you can think like, okay, is this person MOF certified? I don't know how important it actually is. There's tons and tons of really talented people that don't do it, right? Like that don't care to be certified or whatever. But it's like maybe like the Michelin system, but for any trade in France.
Right.
Anyway, so tons of MOF chefs that are like walking around.
That is insane.
In France, you can only have the French flag on the neck of your jacket. If you are an MOF, like it's like restricted for that.
Okay.
So that's how you know. But yeah, it's like tons of chefs. I mean, like they split the judging into 2 different sections. There's judging for like actual taste presentation of the food, and those judges are like how they do it is that there's one judge from each country competing, right?
Okay.
So that it's not like, you know, a bunch of French chefs that are like rooting for France to win
Exactly.
and you know, cheat or whatever. So it's one.
Would they do that, Chef? Are you saying that?
Yeah,
they would
absolutely.
They care about it that much, Chef. I will say.
They care about it for sure.
You know, sabotaging shit in the walk-in. Do you guys have different walk-ins for your prep? Like, is your prep completely split?
You get like a little booth.
Okay.
And in your booth, you have like, they give you the exact specs, right? So like, they're like, we're going to use these specific types of refrigerators. You're going to have this much space on this side of it, this much space on this side of it. There's going to be a blast chiller. There's going to be a convection oven that's, you know, this by this inches, whatever, right? They tell you exactly what it's going to look like, the size of the tables, everything. And all of that shit matters, man. So like when we found out the specs for each of the competitions, we would set our kitchen up exactly like it so that when you're practicing your movements, right? You got to remember that every second counts. It's 5.5 hours is all you have, right? With 2 people, that's it. It's just the chef and a commis.
So it was you and Kirkley.
No, I didn't compete.
Okay.
So we're just part of the other team, right?
Oh, all right.
So it's Kirkley as the chef, and then a commis, which was Mimi Chen, which is the greatest lady I've ever met in my entire life.
Mimi Chen, where's she at now?
She's in New York doing her own like little pastry thing.
Okay.
She's wonderful. She was going to a culinary school in New York at the time. She's
Right.
from like Staten Island, and they kind of like mentor kind of pairs you with young cooks that are like excited enough to do something like this, and she was part of the mentor program. So Kirkley found out about her and chose her specifically to be his commis.
Okay.
And the only rules for the commis is that they have to be under the age of 21 by the time that they compete, right? And you train for 2 years, so you have to find someone that is like just turning 19 in order to have them as your commis.
Right.
And then there's an entire supporting squad, which is what we did. Me and Alice and Danny and Ethan Hodge, Paris. There's a bunch of people, right? And then there's also a coach. The coach doesn't touch any food, but the coach sits at the front of the pass and tells you how you're doing on time. Like if the oven buzzer's going off, like I set up like the coaching system for the first couple things, and I coached the one in Las Vegas. And we had like apps that, every single timer that would happen during the run, because you just do the same thing over and over. So every single timer that would happen during the run was already set up. So when Kirkley put whatever into the oven, I just press the timer. They don't have to think about it. Timer goes off. I say, hey, Kirkley, you got 1 minute until your tuiles come out, whatever.
Right.
So that he's thinking about it, and then I tell them, hey, tuiles should come out right now, or the coach.
So
at the
nothing
time.
burns, nothing.
They don't have to think about small shit like that.
Right.
Like they're just focusing on cooking, and everything else is taken care of by the coach.
Right.
It's really interesting. It's like a completely different world.
Yeah, that's it's like a sports game. Seems like.
Yeah, it kind of
Right?
is.
You're
And
like, tuiles are coming out of the oven.
right.
Covering your
it's
mouth.
It's also
with
kind of like a performance, right? Because like you do the same thing every day, sometimes multiple times a day.
It's like a play.
Once you've built your dishes that you're going to do, right? You just run that same run over and over and over again. And what my biggest responsibility when I was working at Bocuse was working with Mimi and with Kirkley, but mostly with Mimi, which was the commis. And when we first started our run for Lyon, it took her 9.5 hours, which is obviously not good because it needs to be 5.5 hours, right? So my main and almost only responsibility was to find any possible way that we could shave time off of her run, right? And little shit, right? Like I remember one of the revelations for me when trying to cut off time was like all of the little things count. Like she was cutting, I don't remember what it was. I think it was zucchini or whatever. And she had her cutting board and she had her zucchini here and then whatever she was putting it into on the left side of that. And I realized that like we could cut off 30 seconds from that piece of prep by moving the container that the finished product goes into to the right side so that it was one fluid motion, right? You're picking zucchini, you're cutting, you're moving it here, and you're not going back over the other zucchini to put it into the container.
Right.
But like that was my job, was just like seriously micromanaging and watching every movement and saying like, you ran to the walk-in twice when you should have went once, right? That's 5 seconds, right?
Damn, it sounds like that position should exist in kitchens.
Right, yeah.
You know how much fucking tighter we'd get, bro?
Yeah, seriously.
But that's
really
the thing. I imagine paying someone, but aren't you just paying for someone to make mistakes that they can't see? Right? It's almost like better to put it all in one person and be like, hey.
Yeah.
It's a great coaching technique for sure.
Yeah. It was really cool, man. And honestly, like, obviously, I feel like a lot of cooks would take that the wrong way, like if you were to do that to them. But it's definitely something that I thought was important moving into like managing, right? Is like not saying like, hey, you're wasting time doing this. Being like, hey, you could be a little bit faster if you just move it here. Take it or leave it. You know what I mean?
The take it or leave it method is the most effective.
Yeah.
Because I've come to this understanding, no one actually wants to do what you tell them to do.
Yeah, no,
they just want to do their own thing, you know? So it's almost like, it's your choice if you do it. And the best chefs that I've worked for, that's been their technique with me. You know, it's like...
I think also, like, Kirkley's talk about it all the time. Lead from the front, right? Like, you want people to do things the way that you do it. You should show them how you do it right next to them, right? Like, pull a board, do that prep project with them, do it the way that you told them to do it, and show them how much faster it actually is. Yeah. And they'll go, damn, it's true. Yeah. I'll move it over here. You know what I mean?
That's the best way to do it.
It's the best way, in my opinion.
Show by example, for sure.
For sure. Lead from the front.
Yeah. So, Bocuse, god damn.
Yeah. So the system, like what you're actually making is like, they give you 2 themes each time, right? So like when we were competing in France, the first theme was a thing called chartreuse, not the drink. It's like a classic French dish. It's actually a funny story behind it. But really what it is like a big tranche of foie gras with some mousse, and then it's like covered in vegetables and like a really cool pattern, right? It's a super classic French thing.
What's the funny story behind it?
So the Carthusian monks, the people that make chartreuse the drink,
right?
They're vegetarians. And the story is that, everyone in France, even if you're a vegetarian, loves foie gras so much that they would get foie gras and cover it in a bunch of vegetables so that they could go back to their chamber and eat foie gras without anyone knowing.
Okay.
Which is why they covered it in vegetables or whatever. I don't know how true that is, but that's the story that goes around about it.
I mean, if I was a monk, I'd definitely be doing that.
But instead of it being foie gras, it was supposed to be, inspired by chartreuse, but with like a specific set list of seafoods that you could use. It was like cockles and oysters and mussels and I think prawns or something. I don't remember
Right.
exactly. So we had to make a dish based off of that. That dish you would present whole, and then you would show it to the judges, and then take it to a table, and then you had to serve it. You had to like cut it, carve it, whatever you wanted to do with it, and then
So
put it
there's
on the
actually
plate.
service too.
There's service for it, yeah. And still, it's only those 2 people, right?
Is there any beverage involved with anything?
No beverage.
No wine or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other part of it is that they give you a protein. We got veal rack.
Ooh, that's
and
nice.
You have to make a giant, like, crazy elaborate platter. We had 12 judges that we had to cook for at the time, so it was one platter with 12 of each thing. There's supposed to be 3 garnishes, which aren't really garnishes. They're like super intricate little like one-biters pretty much that go onto the plate. A sauce, and then the protein.
It's crazy that up until now, any food competition that it has to deal with French food at all is always platters. It's always like buffet, like aspic, fraud sauce and shit. So it's like
it's super interesting, and it's like there's like a lot of pride in it. It's really funny. It's super antiquated, and like honestly, I think the competition is a little goofy, to be honest. In my opinion.
Okay.
I think it's just excessive and like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But do you think like every year the NFL has a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Right? Is that too much? Yes.
No, but I think it's different,
in the grand scheme
like
of things.
You're working towards that as part of a team every single day of the year, and I guess you kind of are for this competition as well. But it's just like maybe it's not excessive. I don't know. It's cool. I don't think that I would take part in it again. I guess.
Is it just the stress part of it? Is it not?
No, I love the stress.
Right.
It's my favorite.
What are the worst parts about Bocuse that you're like?
It's very political. It's like the organization that funded us, and there's like there's a lot of rules, and like you got to be,
You're saying there's a lot of scumbags involved. Chef.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think
and that's for all teams. It's not just for us. There's just like a lot of politics with the judging. Like the year before we went, USA won gold for the first time ever. It was a really big deal.
Mm-hmm. That was Friends Laundry, no?
Yeah. Phil Tessier and Matt Peters is the name.
Got you.
Yeah. And Harrison Tyrone.
Tessier is the shit. He's up there at press right now.
Dude, killing it.
He's
fucking awesome. Yeah. He was the coach. So he competed the year before and got silver. And then he coached the next year for Matt Peters, and they got gold.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I don't know what the truth is. We got 9th when we competed out of 24. And I definitely don't think that we put up like winning food. Like there was definitely platters that were better than ours. Period. Right. But I don't think that we deserved 9th. But there was a lot of talk around town that like France was really upset that USA won.
Really? Of course they're always mad when we win.
Yeah.
And I like that rivalry though. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Whatever. You know what I mean?
I like it. But all I'm saying is that there's a lot of politics involved. It's not black and white. Anyways, I think it was a fun thing. It was really, really interesting to experience. I might in the future go again because it's really fun, to watch these people. I mean, these people are like, everyone that cooks is dedicated to their craft, but these people are like very fucking dedicated.
It's the best of the best. It's it's like the LeBron James, the Michael Jordan. And we were talking about this earlier because we're moving into this new phase of fine dining, right? And what that means. It's like, how do we create greatness with the same intensity, but not necessarily offending people, harassing people, right? Can we get there? Do you think that there's a way to coach respectfully, aggressively, basically?
Yeah, it's a hard one, man. Honestly, like, I think what is going on right now obviously is not working.
Yeah.
Right? It's a huge reason why I don't cook anymore. I don't condone anything that has happened to me.
Right.
You know, the way that I've treated people, like any of that shit, right? Like, none of that is right.
Have you ever called anybody that you've treated poorly and sort of apologized? Is there?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a few that come to your head where you're
totally. I've actually 3 people. When I first started becoming a sous chef, I was like, you know, stupid and fucking cocky, and you know, wanted to prove a point to a lot of people.
Chef Costa calls it the sous chef syndrome. It's like you start hot, then you get really cold because everyone hates you, and then you like even out, and then after like 6 months, people leave, new people come in, then you kind of get that stride.
Yeah, I think that there's a big thing. Like when I started as a sous chef at Lazy Bear, I had never worked at Lazy Bear, right? And it was also my first sous chef position, and I came in, and there were people that had been there for years, right? That were like gunning for that spot, and I got it because I knew the CDC at the time. Right. I didn't deserve that position over other people. Right. You know what I mean? Like there were at least 3 people at Lazy Bear already that should have gotten that position, but I got it instead, and there was a lot of animosity because of that. You know. Right. And
was that very apparent before you even got the position? Like, I'm gonna. I
didn't even stop. They just hired me, dude. Like,
God.
I called Chris. I said, hey, you know, I'm done with single thread.
Yeah.
You guys got any openings?
Looking back now, do you feel like that was a poor choice on their part to just like give you that sous chef job, or did they?
Yeah, Chris shouldn't have done that. Yeah, I was not ready, to be honest. To be completely honest, and why I say I wasn't ready is because I treated people like shit because I needed to prove a point to them, right? And that's not okay at all.
No, it's not.
You know what I mean?
I was telling you this earlier. Like, for a long time, I thought it was okay to scream in people's face.
Yeah.
And like, that's not cool at all. Yeah. You know. But then I asked you, like, what was your upbringing like? Because usually, kids that grow up in strict environments where you do get yelled at or hit by your parents, like that shit is almost the only way that you learn. It's almost like you learn to learn that way.
Yeah. Like, like I was telling you, I mean, it's definitely like that. Like, intensity has always been good for my learning, but I 100% understand that people don't learn like that, right? Not everyone learns like that, and I think that is like such a big part of being a manager, is understanding that every single person that you're dealing with learns a different way, right? They feel different ways about things, and you need to be able to pinpoint what that is for each individual, and you know, give your mentorship in that manner instead of just like, this is how we do it, this is how I was brought up. Yeah. Like, now you have to fucking listen to me. Exactly. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work, man. Now. Yeah, and I think like a big problem is given, you know, mostly young men that aren't mature enough, positions of power, is like, you know, it gets to people's heads and fucking whatever. I left after that, you know, and realized almost immediately, right? Like I shouldn't have been in that position, and I was a dick to people, and I immediately apologized to those people, and then worked for Kirkley, and Kirkley's intense, man, you know, and not everything he does is great, right? As a manager, but he is incredibly intelligent, and he knows how to motivate and inspire people to work really hard, which I think is the most important thing. We've talked about this a couple times already on this show, right? It's like, he was definitely a person that led from the front, right? Like if he's telling you that your brunoise sucks, it's because he actually does this brunoise way better than you and way fucking faster than you. Right. You know what I mean? He's like a real cook, you know? And a lot of people aren't.
There's very few of those nowadays.
Yeah, it seems so. I mean,
like, how many times do you hear, oh, that chef can't cook? Yeah. Michelin starred motherfuckers.
Yeah. It's all the time.
Never seen him cook.
It's all the time. I mean, I think it's interesting. For me personally, I always wanted to be really, really, really fucking good at the craft of cooking, right? Not just creative, but like, I wanted to butcher fish better than the person next to me, right? Whatever, anything. I wanted to do it better than the person next to me. In a weird, like, it's kind of like a toxic mentality, but it was like made me better, right?
Well,
and I don't think that I ever like put that on anyone else. It was always just in my head, right? Like, this person's way better at butchering fish than me. Like, I'm going to watch them, and then I'm going to get better at them, and then I'm going to try to take over the fish station or whatever when I leave, right? But yeah, I mean, I think, that mentality is not, it's not great. I don't mind it. I think it's fine though.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Like
I think we need to,
is necessary.
we need to cultivate restaurants where we know, like I've literally said in my head, oh, I need to go work there to get yelled at because that's what I need in order to be motivated to do better. Right? Because naturally, like in my most natural state, I'm fucking lazy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So
I say really all the time, like if I have the chance to slack off, I'll slack off.
Exactly.
Sure.
So it's like making
humans
sure,
in general will do that,
making
right?
sure that I was at a place that didn't allow that wasn't an option was, where I was at. And I think that there's value in that, and I think we need to understand maybe how to get there again at some point, just because like we all like sports, everyone is into whatever, you don't, and maybe it's because it's separated by gender in sports that you don't really, there's no real abuse because the women aren't there, so what are you gonna do, or the men aren't there, whatever it is. But when I look at a guy like LeBron, like he is the best at his craft, and I feel like there's a lot of cooks that had that same tenacity, but over the years of abuse, it just got beat out of them, and they're like, "Fuck this! Like, what am I doing?"
I mean, like, I think we did a really good job at managing people at Gap Year.
Okay.
And I think a huge part of that was like I had worked for a bunch of really fucking hardcore people. Until I worked for Nico, and then Nico was like genuinely kind.
Yeah,
right?
and you were like really
a good person. Yeah. And people.
That's what prepared me for Meadowood.
Yeah.
Like, the guy I had before them, Jake Rojas, he's crazy. You know what I mean? And he was much harder on me than Costau could ever be, and it sort of gave me this like confidence of like, whatever, roast me, dog. Like, like this other dude would swing on you if he never swung on me, but like that's how it felt. You felt that scared that you're like, he's gonna hit me.
I mean, I've heard many stories. I have friends that have been like actually assaulted on a line. Like none of that is okay, man. Like it just can't continue.
It can't continue.
And I guess what the point I was trying to make with Gap Year being like a better place to work is even still, right? Like that type of work, like we were working fucking 18-hour days every single day of the week. Me and Alice were going in 6 days a week, every single week. It was just, we were exhausted, right? And there's just so much to do. We had seriously 19 savory dishes on the menu. There was a la carte and tasting, and there were 4 cooks, right? It was a garde manger station, a meat station cook, a fish station cook, a sous chef, and then myself, right? And then there was Alice doing pastry all by herself, right? It's like not enough people to be doing 60 covers, like that type of food.
No, definitely not.
With 19 savory dishes, right? It's just like,
and every dish has 19 components to it, so you're like, ah.
Yeah, I mean, it was too much, and we were just like dying. And even though I think we tried to create like a good culture, it can never be an actual good culture because everyone is exhausted and cranky and overworked and underpaid. Like, when we were figuring out the pay structure for Gap Year, they gave me a limit, right? They're like, this is how much we can afford for back of the house labor. And I was already making like not enough money for what anyone does in the cooking industry, right? And I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely not paying these 4 people that little, right?
Yeah.
So I was like,
take
cut. $20K off of mine, and we'll just disperse that between the other people, right? And as I was telling you before, everyone that like joined the team at Gap Year was like a friend of mine, which hurt more, right? That I wanted to pay them more than I was getting paid.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you just fucking can't. And like there's this vision, right? You're like, well, if we just fucking kick ass and we're super busy and whatever, like we'll all be able to get raises. Like that's just never gonna happen, man. Like the restaurant industry is just broken foundationally, right? Like we were doing really well towards the end. We were only open for 3.5 months before COVID
right
took over, right?
Yeah.
We were doing really well. We were fucking super busy. We were like hitting profitability,
right.
which
like
is
doing food you love.
Right, exactly.
It's like the trifecta
and
right
like
there.
I think we had definitely gotten to the point where we're doing too much. Like we need to pare this back. Like either we need to do just tasting or we need to do only a la carte so that people have less dishes, whatever. I think we would have gotten to a place where it would have been better, bearable.
Right. That sweet spot.
But it would have never, it still never would have been a good culture, right? The work is inherently hard, right? And I think that if you could actually have a schedule where people like legit work 8 hours a day, they get paid like an appropriate amount of money.
Right.
Not like, oh, we pay over minimum wage, right? Like that doesn't fucking mean anything.
No.
This is skilled labor, man.
It's $30 an hour, bro.
James Lee, who was the fish cook there, has been cooking for 10 fucking years, right? Like in what other craft or trade do you cook for 10 years and make minimum wage?
Yeah. And then move to another restaurant and start at the bottom.
Right.
Usually corporate.
It's crazy.
You know.
I mean, like, and the problem is like you can't charge more for food because people won't come. Right. Because there's a restaurant that's doing something similar to you that's charging $50 less, whatever. Right. And because of that, you can't make a profit. Right. Like a lot of fine dining restaurants run on like if you're hitting 4% of profit, that's like fucking killing it. You know what I mean? That's not good, especially when your revenue is so
slim
low.
Margins.
Right? Yeah. It's broken.
Yeah,
the
nature of the system is definitely broken.
And I think that's like a huge part of why I left, right? It's like, I don't know. I mean, I love it more than anything. Like I would go back in a heartbeat, but I don't have the solution.
Yeah.
You know? And I also don't want to be a part of the problem anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I I did an event a couple weeks ago. I'm just doing events sparingly. And like I haven't gone hard in a little while. And I like did the event, and you know I'm doing events by myself, so it's like I got that adrenaline rush, and then after it's like I fucking go out, get hammered, buy cigarettes, you know what I mean? It's like fuck, I'm back to my old shit. It's like I was an old athlete. I'm like I'm back, baby.
Yeah. It's like, funny, man. It's like,
you know,
it
goes hand in hand though, like bad habits and cooks.
Totally,
it's like,
totally, man. It's weird, and like I personally don't know how to break it. You know, like. I think that there's a lot of really great conversations happening in the food world about things to fix, but it's going to actually take people doing those things.
That's what I mean, because we spend a lot of time debating and talking about it, but we don't spend a lot of time doing.
Yeah.
And that's honestly because we don't have any fucking money to do it. You know what I mean? There's never been like a large company in our world that makes a lot of money and also like puts it back into it. Like how cool would it be is like look at restaurants like Chili's and Applebee's. Like let's be real, they're not great restaurants, but at the end of the day they're a job for somebody, right? They pay the bills. Totally. But it's like those are the restaurants, those restaurant groups that should be putting most of the money back into the economy of restaurants and making foundations so young cooks can go learn. You know what I mean?
Buddy.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like when things become a business, that's when everything becomes fucked.
Right.
And then I ask myself, I'm like, what is success?
Yeah.
You know, because I've personally chefed for, you know, millionaires that it's like they got to have fucking 8 nannies at the house to deal with their kids. And it's like, I told myself, I'm like, look, I want to be a millionaire, but not like this.
Yeah, me too.
There's not going to be a fucking day where I'm like, oh, I need 3 fucking nannies to take care of my kid.
Right.
No offense if you live that life, whatever, but it's very impersonable for me, and
Totally.
I don't know that that would be weird because I'd be like, where'd you learn that from? Oh yeah, the 3 other fucking people that live here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
nanny number 4.
Exactly. It's like no, I'm not playing that game.
Right.
It also makes the kids bossy. I've realized
Because they get what they want.
Yeah, and they're all like, you know, oh, you put my toy in the wrong place, and the nanny's like, oh, I'm very sorry. I'm like, bro, my mom would have been like, excuse me,
house.
Motherfucker? Yeah, like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, yo, this is
the toy goes where I fucking say the toy goes.
Exactly, and I think that's why we're at where we're at, because it's generations of kids that were raised that way that literally had employees their entire lives, never did anything for themselves. So they learn how to be bosses that way. And to be honest with you, all those people are politicians now, right? So that's why we're in this fucking boat. Let's be real, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting though. I mean, like, you know, those people are all around though, right? And you think about other industries. I mean, like the tech industry certainly has its bad parts of it, right? Like you hear horror stories about companies like that too, right? But not every fucking restaurant, not every fucking company is like that, right?
Yeah.
It's every company. Even the good restaurants are still kind of shitty.
That's what I'm saying,
right?
Yeah. Because there's no way to be successful if you don't fuck people over. I feel like you need to, like, if you reach a certain level of success, it's because you've trashed other people on the way up.
Yeah, you got to burn bridges to make it happen in the
Exactly.
restaurant industry, and it's like, I don't know, man. Again, I love it. I love cooking food more than anything.
Yeah.
I would do it in a heartbeat if I could do it and be around people that were actually happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's hard. And that's the crazy thing right now. Like, dude, what I do is maybe not as exciting. Like, there's definitely things I miss. Like, I miss, like, the smell of things. Like, the person on the station next to you cracks open a Mandarin for the first Mandarin of the season. Like, you get that orange smell or whatever. Like, little things like that, like, I miss a lot.
Grease trap.
Right. Yeah,
just,
exactly.
Humble you down a little bit. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Cleaning the trash cans, whatever. Like, I honestly miss shit like that, right? But, like, the people I work with are really happy, dude. Like, actually happy. And the amount of work that we produce and good work we produce is amazing. It's amazing what, like, it's a small startup that I work for. Right? The engineering team, I think, has, like, 6 people now. And the amount of stuff that we do on a weekly basis is, like, mind-blowing. And it's genuinely, I believe, it's because people are paid the proper amount of compensation. They have as many benefits as you can think of. Like, Roe versus Wade happened, right? And our boss personally messaged people and said, hey, I know this is a really fucked up time. She lives in Amsterdam now. She's from America originally.
Yeah.
She's like, I know this is a really fucked up time. Like, if you need some time off, please feel free to take as much as you want.
That's so awesome.
Right? Dude, like there is no, I still feel guilty taking time off, but there's no need to feel guilty, right? Like, people take time off all the time, right? Like our calendar, every day of the week, someone from our team has off, right? Every single day of the week, no matter what. I mean, obviously that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's a lot, and I wish to take advantage of that more too. But, like, these people are happy because of those things, right? Yeah. And they produce really, really solid work, and we're all excited on a daily basis to do what we do, right?
Yeah, I'm sure you've lived this life because, you were born in Florida. Now you're over here in California. You're away from your family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've been away from my family forever, and you're almost like a stranger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know my fucking nephews or nieces.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't around. I was chasing this craft, and I said no to weddings. I said no to birthdays. I said no to, you know what I'm saying?
My brother's getting married in October. And
dude. And now you can fucking go. But if it was 3 years ago, shit, sorry, I can't. Thomas Keller's coming in to eat tonight.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no fucking way. And I was telling Justin, like, this is my brother. This is my first wedding I've ever been to. My brother's wedding is the first wedding I've ever been to.
Because you're usually working it.
Yeah, I'm just working. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I hear you, man. I'm on that same boat. I just went to a Tyler's wedding. Actually, I got to cater it, which was pretty
nice.
cool.
That's really cool. Yeah,
it's dope. Because I'm doing these catering events, and I do it by myself. I learned how to basically maximize my. You know what it is, chef? It's sandbagging. And I feel like at a 3-star level, you look down on it, right?
Kirkley used to say it all the time. Get ahead, stay ahead.
Yeah,
right? That's
exactly.
what it is, man. Get ahead, stay ahead.
Costa would say.
Would also talk shit to you for sandbagging.
Oh, 100%.
He would tell you. You would be down, and he'd be like, "Get ahead, stay ahead." You know what I mean? Get ahead, stay ahead.
Yeah.
And then you would, he'd go through your low boy, and there's like an extra pint of something. He's like, "You sandbagging son of a bitch,"
Yeah, Sandy Baggins, baby. They
so
exist.
Funny.
But honestly, Puerto Rican food is a good conductor of sandbagging because any party you go to, the food is made at 12.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just sits on the stove,
in the pot of oil.
Yeah, out all day long.
So funny. I remember at those parties I was telling you about at my aunt's house, she would cook like pork shoulders,
right?
But like completely covered in fat.
Pernil, baby.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude, it's so delicious. Yeah. But it's so funny. Like, as a kid, and my mom would be like, "What the fuck? Like, this is actual fat, right? This is lard covering this pig, It's
like there wasn't enough on the fucking belly, bro.
So funny.
That's
now
dope.
It's like not that big of a deal, but as a kid we were like, whoa.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So delicious though.
I mean, dude, it's the best. Fucking love it. Damn, where the fuck were we?
I don't even remember.
It's all good.
We can go back.
Let's go back to the trajectory, baby. So we're still in Florida. So what was your upbringing like? Meaning we talked about food, obviously, but you know, in school, were you in sports? Did you care about sport, video games? Like, what were you doing?
Yeah, I played basketball from you know, like probably third grade until I got into high school.
Right.
I was really into basketball. I wanted to be like in the NBA. You know, it was like my
Okay.
dream. The only reason that I was good at basketball is because I was taller than everyone else. Like, I'm not an athletic person, you know.
Yeah.
But I tried my hardest and I fucking, you know, gave it my all, and I could just put my arms up and, you know, stuff people. So it was like, you know, as a kid, it was great, you know.
Right.
And I thought that I was going far. And then I got into high school and realized that there are people that are taller than me
Right.
and have way better mechanics than I do. And I was like, all right, well, it's time for me to stop playing basketball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wrestled for 2 years.
Dope.
My junior and senior year
Yeah.
of high school, which is like,
So fucking hard.
Dude, it's like one of the hardest things I've ever done.
The training is what I hear is like,
Yeah,
you guys
it's
are doing 2-a-days and you guys
intense,
are just like.
And I wrestled heavyweights, right? I had a wood shop class in high school.
Right.
I don't know if everyone has that, but I thought it was really cool. Our wood shop teacher was the wrestling coach, and I was there, and I was a big dude, right? Like, I mean, I was like 250 pounds
Jesus
in 8th grade. I was a
bro.
big
Yeah.
fucking guy, but I wasn't like sloppy fat. I was just a big dude,
Right,
you know?
right.
I was fat, but I wasn't sloppy fat.
No.
And the wrestling instructor came up to me, or the wrestling coach came up to me, and he was like, "Come here at end of day, 2:00 or whatever.
Right.
School ends." And I turned it down so many times, but he came like 3 times a week, and he was like, "Dude, come wrestle with us," you know. And finally, the next year, in wood shop class, I started the beginning of their season. And,
Right.
And I remember, after the first practice, I literally couldn't get up because I had my entire body was covered in DOMs. Like I would try to get up and my muscles were just not strong enough after the first workout to even lift myself anymore. Like, I didn't have enough energy in my body.
Right.
You know, my brother and my best friend had to like carry me to my car to like go get food. It was really funny.
Wow.
But your body adapts, whatever. Mm-hmm. I was never particularly good at wrestling, but I really enjoyed it because I thought it was like obviously super challenging.
Yeah. Then when you're struggling against somebody else, that is a good. It's good for your brain.
Yeah, totally. And it's honestly it's good to lose, right? Like, I lost a lot, especially in my first year, right? Because it's not like, you know, you play a game a week. Like, when you wrestle, you have like, I don't know, we would do 2 matches per week, and a match would be against a different school, and you'd have like, you know, 5-6 matches for your weight class. And then there were tournaments where you would wrestle like 6-7 matches depending on how good you did, right? So you're losing multiple times a night if you're losing, like I was losing, you know? And then, again, I think it's like the same mentality with cooking, right? Like, I hated losing. I fucking hated it. So I, like, over the summer would, like, practice. I would, like, hang out with, you know, kids that were on the wrestling team, and we would go to the school. They gave us the keys to the area for the wrestling ring, and we would just practice, man. And my second year, I wasn't great, but I was probably like 60% win rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. Wrestling was
fucking outworked everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
And I was still cooking at the time too.
Yeah. Okay. So you had your job at this time when you get.
Yeah,
to high school?
I got my first job cooking at 14.
Okay.
The school that I went to. So Florida has this thing called a magnet program, and what that means is like many of the schools, like most of the schools, have a certain curriculum that they teach for, you know, like a craft or a trade. Or
Votech kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Connecticut, we have a lot of that.
Yeah. So they call it magnet program. It's the choice program, magnet schools, and ours was a cooking school, right? And there was like computer science and law and veterinarian and all that shit, right? And I like signed up for a bunch of them. Didn't get into most of them because I kind of slacked off in middle school. And then I took cooking because I thought it would be really easy. You know, I was like, man, this is gonna be a breeze. We're gonna make some food. I'll eat on a daily basis, whatever. Like, I never ever thought that it was gonna become a career. And then I got in, and my instructor, his name is Chef Guy. I still talk to him on a regular basis. He like, I don't know, he just like took me under his wing. He just like saw something. He was like, you're gonna learn, and I'm gonna teach you, you know. And he got me a job. I guess my sophomore year.
Okay.
In high school, and from that moment on, I mean, I was working 3 days a week to start because I was in school, and then I convinced my parents to let me work 5 days a week during the school week.
Right.
3 days during the school week, and Saturday, Sunday. And then by the time it was like junior, senior year, like I was barely going to school, to be honest. Like I was working at a hotel, and I was working more hours, like probably 10, 11 hours a day, which means that I would get home late at night and I would go to sleep. I would try to wake up for school, but I'd be like,
it's not happening.
I would just go to school just to do those culinary classes,
Right.
I would go, and they were always the end of the day. Like we could select what period we wanted it to be. So I'd pick like 6th and 7th period, and I would go in and just show up for the culinary classes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, and then just never stopped. Yeah, I graduated. So I graduated high school, barely.
What year is this?
Graduated high school, 2012.
2012.
Yeah. And then a lot of my friends went to the Culinary Institute of America.
In New York?
From the Magnet program. Yeah, to Hyde Park.
Was that like since the inception of that program where you were at in high school, it was like a thing, like go to the CIA after you leave here?
You go to JWU or you go to CIA.
JWU,
right?
baby.
Yeah.
JWU. JWU.
I really wanted to go to culinary school, honestly. Like,
okay.
I had gotten some scholarships from, like, in high school, we had, like, cooking competitions that I, like, competed in and shit like that.
Did you hear any rumblings of maybe you didn't need to go to culinary school to learn?
No, absolutely not. And that's the crazy thing, man. Like, everyone, all of our instructors, the chef that I worked for, like, everyone was like, you have to go, right? And I think it might have been more because I had some money already, like in scholarships, and they were like, you should definitely go if you only have to pay like half of it or whatever. And actually, Chef Guy, my instructor, the one that like took me under the wing, he told me that if I didn't go to the CIA or to JWU, that he would stop talking to me. And I didn't go, and he was really pissed at me for a long time.
Did he really not stop talking to you?
Yeah, he stopped talking to me for a couple of years.
Damn, bro.
It was, it was really hard
hurt
love.
His feelings, Chef. What the fuck, man?
Well, he wanted me to do great things, and he thought that was the key, right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I mean, like, he grew up in France, and he.
And
like,
now are you like, what's up, bitch?
No, he loves me. No, we're so close. We're so close, and he's like come back and apologized to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
he just thought that it was
growth on his part, no?
Yeah, totally. He thought that was the right path to become successful.
There's no right path.
There is no right path.
No,
absolutely not. And I'm like so glad I didn't go to culinary school. Like I would still be paying off.
Oh, bro, I'm still in it, man.
Loans. Yeah.
Still like 100 G's in, bro.
Yeah. You still got a shit ton more.
And guess what the number was when I first. 100 G's.
Yeah.
So it hasn't like
nothing is moving. You've just been paying interest.
Bro. That's
right.
it. So it's like there really needs to be this student loan forgiveness needs to fucking happen.
Yeah, totally.
Because the sham, like I got fucking fucked over.
You think it's a sham? You think?
Oh yeah, I think there was a company that we worked with first for financial aid, and then I realized we didn't even need them. They just charged us more money on top of the thing to help us fill out our FAFSA. Form. And it's like we could have just done that ourselves,
right?
But they just gladly took our money to then tell us where to go get more money,
right?
And then
That's
it's like
fucked. Yeah.
And then when you're there, you don't want to let your parents down, so when your mom tells you have to finish college, you're like I'll pay it back later. I'll get a job that pays me a lot when I get.
My brother felt that guilt. Like no one in our family had ever gone to college.
Same.
Right? Like
my dad
all the
went,
way
but he
down
never
the generations.
finished.
Yeah. No one had even gone.
Okay.
Right. And my brother, he's older than me. He's 3 years older than me. He certainly felt that that guilt or that need to like go do it for the family name or whatever to like impress, I don't know, whoever the fuck he's impressing with it. And I think that he regrets it now because of that. It's interesting because I think that like who at 18 years old, just graduating high school, finally getting a little bit of freedom, is going to go to a school and actually give it 100%?
Nobody.
No one, man.
Nobody.
And like no one knows what the fuck they want to do at 18.
Yeah.
Like,
I wish I had more people in my life that said, hey, man, take your time. But ever since I was taking culinary classes in high school, you had those chefs who were like, I went to Johnson & Wales, you need to go to Johnson & Wales.
Yeah.
I have never left the trajectory of being a chef. You can never leave or else you'll never be a chef.
Oh, it's definitely, yeah.
And it was like, fuck, okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. anyways, a lot of people did go to Johnson, to Johnson Wales and to CIA afterwards. Like most of my friends.
I always beat myself up because I never went to Johnson Wales in Florida. I'm like, let me go to Rhode Island where it's fucking cold.
Yeah,
it's
come on, man. We went to the Miami campus. It's pretty awesome there. Yeah. One of my best friends went to JWU Miami. He's got a bunch of great stories.
Oh, dope.
Fraternity and shit.
Yeah, dude. That's the shit out there, man.
I think that's the one part that I feel bad about not going to college is like missing that college life, you know? Because like I moved out right after college to California and like just went to work, you know?
It's an expensive 4-year vacation, bro. You're fine.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Now you're having that time now with no debt.
As an older person, I don't give a fuck anymore. But like when I was 21, I was like, damn, dude, it would have been cool to be around a bunch of people, like having a good time, whatever.
Dude, grass is always green.
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
Every fucking time.
Yeah. So I graduated high school. I was a huge food nerd already. Like I had tons of cookbooks. I was reading everything I possibly could. Like Alinea was like really huge back then. I would like study the Alinea book that just came out. The French Laundry, all of those places.
So how did you actually even learn about those books? But with the people that you had in the kitchen?
Chefki.
Okay.
That French instructor at the culinary school was like a real. I mean, he was hardcore. Like he was a real dude. He cooked in real kitchens. I feel like a lot of times those instructors are like, you know, came from hotels or whatever. Like he worked in like Michelin-starred restaurants in France when he was growing up. Right?
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. And he came out here because he loves teaching. He still teaches. I don't think he teaches at the same school anymore, but he still gives like private classes to like older people now and whatever.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
And he was doing it at a time when that was severely frowned upon.
Yeah.
Like leaving Michelin star life to go be a fucking instructor.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he moved to America and become an instructor. Dude, I can't believe how lucky I was to have him. Yeah. Right? Like that's super rare. Yeah. You know, that's luck. That's serious.
I didn't know who fucking Thomas Keller was until I got to college.
Yeah.
And they were like,
he gave me books, man. Like I would he lived around the corner from me and we were like close. We were friends. I would help him do like catering events and shit like that. As a kid, you know, I catered his wedding. He like, it's so funny. No, seriously. He like, he printed out a menu. He bought all the ingredients. He like wrote recipes for everything, and he paid us money, me and one other kid from the culinary school. And he like showed us around. He showed us where all the ingredients were. He said, "Here are the recipes. Like cook it. Like we're trying to eat around 6 o'clock or whatever." Yeah. And then he just went. He was like roasting a pig outside, so he was like taking care of the pig, you know.
At his own wedding, that's dope.
Yeah. No, it was super cool. It was like in his backyard. You know what I mean?
Shit,
like they were just like hanging out.
Yeah, enough of this fucking
super
need
cool.
to rent shit.
Yeah, dude, it was rad, and like, don't tell anyone, but gave us a couple glasses of wine. Like, we were just hanging out. Anyways, he was super fucking cool. But he was giving me cookbooks, right? Like he was like, not giving me, like lending me cookbooks to read, and I would give it back to him. And he had like a huge fucking collection. So like every week we would swap like 4 books, and I would just like read 4 more books. I was super into it, right? Yeah, so I was like, you know, in tune with what was going on. You know, obviously Instagram and shit wasn't like a thing back then. Yeah. Like it was cooking books is what you looked at, you know. So all of my friends go to CIA. I send a message, or I'm like talking to one of my friends. She sends me a message and says, "Hey, like Thomas Keller is at Hyde Park right now. It's crazy. Like he's walking around the campus, blah blah blah."
Right.
You know?
Everybody's freaking out.
Yeah, everyone's freaking out. Like everyone's super stoked.
Michael
you know,
Jackson.
It's like exactly. And I wrote an email, like this long, like 4-page email after it was printed out, and I sent it to Morgan, and I said like, "Hey, like print this out, and if you see him, just hand him the letter, right?" She's like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't want to bother him, blah blah blah." I was like, "Please, like just do it for me. Just like print this out, hand him it. You don't even have to fucking say anything, right?" And she did it. The next day, she texted me and she said she had given him the letter, and the letter was pretty much just me being a fucking nerd. You know, I was just like I want to work there so bad. Like I'm, you know, super passionate about cooking. Like here's what I've done. Like I you know,
shit that he's heard before.
Right. Exactly. But they messaged me, man, and that's
cool.
This is like right after their lawsuit, right? They're like they got like pinned for having like a bunch of free labor.
Right.
So they weren't allowed to have stages anymore.
Real? What year was this?
This is 2012. I had just graduated.
Oh, that's a little under the radar for me. I never heard about that.
Yeah, 2012, 2013.
So they've been dealing with lawsuits and fucking...
Yeah, for a long time. They made it, and don't sue me, but they made it very clear that I wasn't allowed to, because I was going to write a blog about it.
Right.
Which is like so stupid and nerdy. But
You weren't allowed to talk about it?
I wasn't allowed to talk about it. They told me because they had just gone through this lawsuit, but they invited me because I sounded so passionate in my message, you know? And, you know, being a dumb 18-year-old, I was working, so I had like a little bit of money saved up, but I had like $1,000 or something.
Right.
Right. And I decided in that moment that I was leaving and never coming back. Right. I was like, I bought a one-way ticket to California.
I know how that life is.
And I had like maybe $500 left over.
Yeah.
And I left. I didn't tell my parents that I was leaving. I told them that I was coming back. They were super stoked that I was like going to, you know, stash at the French Laundry. And I did. I was there for 2 weeks. They put me up, gave me food, you know, all this stuff.
Who was in the kitchen at that time?
Timothy Hollingsworth was the CDC. Phil Tessier was there and was really the only person that was like genuinely nice to me.
Right.
You know, everyone else
was
a dick.
A scumbag.
Yeah, everyone was kind of mean. Yeah. There was a couple cooks that were really nice there. But most of them were just dismissive. Like they were just too busy to like deal with me. You know, I was like a little kid, didn't really know what the fuck I was doing. But Phil Tessier was like a very, very nice person. You know, like he every single day, he was the AM sous chef at the time there, and he would every single day like check in on me, see how I was doing, make sure I got food, like, you know, tell me to take a break. We would like go outside and he would talk to me like just like a nice person, you know. And everyone else was just like I didn't even exist. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways, it was a crazy experience, like being in that. I remember the first service that I watched there. Again, I've been cooking in restaurants for like 4 years now, but it's like, you know, quote unquote fine dining restaurants in, you know, Tampa, Florida, which is like non-existent.
Yeah, no,
you know?
That doesn't work.
And I remember the first ticket they called and everyone said we at the same time, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like
this
loud
is
too,
mind blowing.
right?
Yeah, they scream it, right?
Oi!
Yeah, or I think they called back the number for the
they call back the dishes in succession stations.
Dude, it blew my mind, and I was like, I'm hooked. Like this is it, right? Like this is what I want, you know. And I did it for 2 weeks. My stage came to an end. I talked to Timothy Hollingsworth afterwards, and I was like, he was like, what do you want for your future, whatever? And I was like, yeah, I want to work here. And he was like, you know, he didn't say yeah, right, but he was like, yeah, fucking right. You know, like he's like, I think you should go work at like a steakhouse or like a high volume place so you can cook something like over and over and over again and get better at the technique and blah, blah, blah. Which I didn't want to work at a steakhouse, right? Like I wanted to work in fine dining. Yeah. That was the goal. That's why I was moving out here. And I left and actually like slept on a park bench for a couple days because I didn't have anywhere to go. Heard.
In Yountville?
I went back to Napa. So I had a place to go for a week. Right. And I couldn't figure out. I was trying to get someone in like Oakland or San Francisco.
So you can be close to the airport?
Well, no, so that I could work in SF, right? But I didn't know anyone, man. Like my entire life was in San Francisco. And I had that place to stay for a week from like Chef Guy's friend. And I overstayed my welcome and like was sleeping on a park bench in Napa. And I called my brother's best friend's dad, which I had never met before.
How did you get to that conclusion?
Because I knew that my brother's best friend dad lived in somewhere in Northern California.
Oh, okay, got you.
And I called my brother, and you know all the exchanges of numbers, and I called them, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll come pick you up and bring you to the airport."
Oh, that's dope.
And they picked me up, and they drove me back to the house where they were staying, and they're like, "You should stay a night." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine." Like I didn't have tickets yet, whatever. And I was gonna buy tickets that night, and they were like, "Oh, well, let's go get some food." So we like went to Safeway, and he was like, "Go like buy some food for yourself." And I was like, "I don't have any fucking money." You know what I mean? Like I have to buy a plane ticket home now. Like this is all I have, you know? And he was like, "Don't worry about it. Just go get food and like get enough for a bit." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Just go get food for the week." So I got food for the week, and he took me back, and his partner at the time, Prema, they sat me down and they were like, "Hey, we really believe in what you're doing, and we're like super excited to be a part of your life. So we want to let you stay here until you can find a job."
That's
so
dope.
Not only did they let me stay there, they like bought my fucking food. They put me on their car insurance so I could take their car into the city to look for jobs.
Yeah.
It was wild, dude. Like I've never met these people in my life. And they were just like, out of the kindness of their heart, were like, stay with us. We have an extra room. Let's make this work.
You know, and I think in, you know, they're older people, so they obviously grew up in a different time. I think in 2012, it's very few kids who just go out on a limb like that, fly across
like,
the country
to
are
live
that
there. Stupid enough.
That's what I mean. So like I also did the same thing. It was $150 one-way ticket.
They're like,
you know?
this kid is a special kind of stupid.
Yeah, and they're like, it's like I don't want him to be on the other team. I'll tell you right now, I'm like, put him on my team.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, so I obviously took advantage of that. I got a job at Bocuse. Have you heard of Bocuse? Do you know Chris Cosentino?
Yeah.
So I staged in Encanto and really wanted to work there. It was like one of my favorite cookbooks.
Yeah.
And didn't get the job, but he was like, "You're really awesome. We just don't have an open position right now."
Okay.
But we have Boccolone, which is like a salumeria, right? They make charcuterie,
right?
Italian charcuterie.
They're using the whole hand crank.
Yeah. The whole like for slicing, and they have like a factory in East Oakland. They used to sell it out of Ferry Building in San Francisco, but they produce it all in Oakland. So I would work 3 days a week at the production facility, making like tons, like literally tons of salamis, and then 2 days a week at the storefront, making like sandwiches and slicing meat and working the cash register and whatever. And during that time, I met one of the cooks at Encanto, and he was super cool with me, and he was like, "You should go check out Plum, because our old CDC just took over there." Plum is like a Daniel Patterson restaurant, or was a Daniel Patterson restaurant. So I went and staged there. I think purely because of the connection that I made, like got the job. I definitely I wasn't ready to work in any restaurant like that.
Right.
But I started working at Plum with Manfred Remble, which is super great chef. He makes like really delicious food. He's still around the Bay Area. He's working at Pabu right now. Have you heard of Pabu?
No.
It's like Guamanian food. Yeah, it's really delicious. It's in the Mission. It took over the old Commonwealth space. I don't know if you know Commonwealth.
Okay. Yeah, I went to Commonwealth
once.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome food. Everyone should definitely go check it out.
Pabu.
Yeah, worked there for a couple years, probably like 7 months to be honest, and then went to work at another Daniel Patterson restaurant called Haven. I worked there with Kim Alter, which is now the owner of Nightbird.
Was she the CDC there?
Yeah, she was the CDC there at the time.
Was it, how long into staying with that family did you find your place to live?
As soon as I found a job, no, that's not true. I lived with them for probably 6 months after I got my job at Boccolone.
Okay.
And then as soon as I got my job at Plum, my homie Connor and another one of my really good friends, Felix, were moving to San Francisco. So we all got a place together in West Oakland.
Dope.
Yeah. So we were living in West Oakland, and then I was working at Plum. And then at Haven, Haven was really cool. I met Jeff there, which you just had on the show a couple weeks ago.
Jeff Davis.
Another one of those cooks that is just like mind blown that I got the opportunity to work with him. He's like so fucking talented at what he does.
Yeah.
And like really humble and just a good dude all around.
He's very knowledgeable about wine.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he
like this guy is basically a som here.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's just a wealth of knowledge just in general, man. He's a super good dude.
I went for wine the other day, and I remember the conversation that Jeff had at the bar at CDP, where it was red wine, right? And we're all taught like, yeah, room temperature is fine, right? But you obviously need to have it just a little bit more chilled than usual, right? And I'm not a wine guy, so it's not like top of mind to me, right? And he asked for it to be chilled a little more. And then the other day we went to this wine bar, and they're like, would you like me to chill this a little bit? And I like got into Jeff Davis mode, and I was like, yes, of course. I was already thinking that on my way in here. So
I was about to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny. Yeah, no, he's again, he's just a wealth of knowledge, man. He's a really good dude.
He's good. We're gonna be chilling this coming week, so.
Oh, nice.
Because I was telling him, there's no community of cooks or chefs anymore.
Yeah.
We're not going out to bars, right? When we grew up, your uncles had parties, your dad had parties, your mom, whatever, right? Nowadays, it's us. Like, we're the fucking adults we have to have the
We
parties.
need to be having parties.
Yeah, like we don't
funny.
get together enough
Yeah, yeah.
as cooks, chefs, the community. Like we're not strong enough.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like, pandemic like rolled us over, because there was no community. It was just like, how many restaurants did you work at recently where it's like, all right, guys, going home now.
Yeah.
No one's like, hey, let's go get a drink.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Culture
Yeah, I mean,
was gone.
dude, like Qua was every night. The entire
every
team,
night.
right?
The
The
entire
entire
team.
team goes out. Right?
I would say the best networking opportunities happen over beers at the end of the night than happen while you're at fucking the restaurant.
I can't tell you, like, every fucking place we went was someone we knew, right? Like we would go to a different bar every weekend night, right? And we would find a group of people from a different restaurant, like people from Bennu, people from fucking Saison, people from Quince. Like all these different bars had different groups of restaurants that would go there on a regular basis, and we would just hang out with them. I'm like when we were at Qua, every weekend we would go out and we would call the dudes from Bennu or we would call the dudes from Quince, and everyone would just come. There would be a group of like fucking 25 of us at a bar.
And
you know
that's
what I mean?
fun as fuck.
Yeah, it's
every
awesome.
time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
My chef from Rhode Island was telling me a story that like now as a dad, he's like hangs out with other dads, and he's like I have had it with these bland motherfuckers. He's like, imagine like being a cook in Vegas for 10 years, and then you go fucking move to Rhode Island and have a kid. Now you got to deal with these vanilla ass fucking people that like he's two drinks and they're passed out at the bar. And I got to, like, take them home over my shoulder. Like, what is that, bro?
I'm becoming that person.
You know? Jordan, I will not let you get there, bro. No. We're going to get you
I go to bed at, like, 11 o'clock. It's, like, late for me.
We're going to get you in trouble with Alice. That's my goal, for sure.
Yeah, so I worked at Haven for a little bit. And then eventually Kim Alter took over Plum again. So I went back to Plum.
Okay.
And then I ended up working... Kim Alter had a connection at Love Apple Farms, which is the farm that used to grow produce for Manresa.
Right.
So I went and worked on the farm for 7 months, like growing produce and whatever for Manresa. It was really cool. Staged at Manresa a couple times. And then moved back and then got my job at Qua. And then I was at Qua for 2.5 years. I was like running the little rooftop garden project and like...
How'd you get that job? You staged for it? Was it pretty easy to get the job?
I knew Daniel Patterson because I had been working at his restaurants, and like he wasn't there at Plum and Haven on a regular basis, but like he would pass through and whatever. And Kim Alter gave me a really good reference. And my homie Connor, which moved out from Florida to live with us in West Oakland, wanted to leave. So he left, and the position was open at the exact same time.
Right.
Like kind of planned. And I contacted Kim Alter and I was like, hey, will you help me? Please, I really want to work here. It was like the place that I wanted to work when I moved to SF. This is why I got jobs in the DPG, right?
Yeah.
In the Daniel Patterson group. And then I worked at Qua for 2.5 years. It was a fucking wild ride.
Yeah.
I learned a tremendous amount. Like it's one of those things like the amount of information that like gets stuffed into your brain when you go into like a really challenging situation like that. Like again, I was getting pretty good at cooking, but I was nowhere near as good as I needed to be to work at Qua, right? And like at that time they had just won Best Chef West, and within like a week of that they got like I think like 49 or 59 on San Pellegrino list.
Okay.
So we were fucking busy like
as
70
fuck.
every single night, and I was like walking into this like, in my eyes at the time, it was like perfection, right? Like I had never cooked food like that, like every little detail mattered. I remember like we would we had this tomato dish that was like peeled, like raw peeled cherry tomatoes.
Right.
And it was like over like a wheatgrass and like zucchini puree. And it was like 6 of them. And then each tomato had like, 20 pieces of herbs on top of it. And there were like a total of like 55 different herbs and flowers that were put on this little dish, right? And we couldn't pick or cut any of the herbs ahead of time.
Right.
So I had a stage next to me that all night would just cut herbs to order for this dish. All night.
Yeah.
For 5 hours. This dude just sat next to me, cutting little tiny triangles of herbs that I could put onto a tomato. It was wild. I'd never done anything like it in my life, And I just, you know, I wasn't organized enough. I wasn't quick enough. I wasn't skilled enough, you know.
Yeah.
And I felt it,
Yeah.
you know, like I don't know if it was like that for you, but that first Michelin job is like,
yeah, dude,
it's a different level, right?
Yeah.
And like,
because you come in from being like maybe not top guy, but close to the top guy at your last restaurant, and then you go in and you're trash again.
Yeah,
you're
trash.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
Nobody trusts you.
Yeah.
You can't you
don't
can't
know
be
the
left
systems.
alone. Yeah, you don't know the
you don't know that you
systems.
took their third pan. It's their third pan. You know what I mean?
And like, bro, there's only 15 third pans in this whole place, and
no,
like
we had 3 third pans.
Exactly, like that, you know. And it was
it's so
like,
funny.
dude, at the blender was always the issue.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a line always. It's like if you didn't get to it before 2:00, you're fucked. You won't be seeing that till like after staff meal.
Totally.
Which at that point
It's all those little things that you like. Every restaurant has those different things, but in a Michelin star restaurant, I feel like they have a lot of those things.
Yeah.
You know, and you're trying to like learn their food, learn their techniques, and also learn those like little nuanced, like, you know. Again, we had 3 third pans in the entire restaurant.
Right.
You know. And 2 of them were used for cooking lamb on the back line. So really we had 1 before service, you know? It makes it challenging. And like, you know, I mean, there were other challenging things about that job, you know, personalities and all of the things that comes with it.
Well, it's, you know, in the Michelin game, it's everyone getting together trying to be the best cook, the best chef that they can be. And when you're trying to be the best at something, you're kind of a horse with blinders.
Yeah,
totally. You know what I mean? You're paying attention to only 3 things, maybe technique, flavor, and cleanliness. But, you know, treating people right definitely doesn't fall within that.
Definitely
Move the fuck out of the way. Why the fuck are you using this? This is mine. Like, literally taking shit off people's stations.
Yeah,
You know?
it was brutal. I remember I was still a bit bigger back then. You know, I had lost some weight since my high school days, but I was still
definitely helps.
Still a bit bigger. But I was like sweaty as fuck, right?
Oh, you were that guy?
Yeah, I'm nervous as shit.
You're the
and I'm
Hell's
big
Kitchen
and,
guy?
Yeah.
Sweating the
exactly.
food.
Yeah. And I was like really careful about it. But I remember Andrew Miller was the CDC at the time, and when I first started there, he was like really rough on me, and he would yell at me all the fucking time for being so sweaty. Be like, why the fuck are you so sweaty right now? Like, there's nothing I can do about this. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying.
Yeah.
I would prefer not to sweat, you know?
It's like, I'm not doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't wake up
But
in
it
the
was
morning.
just like, it was that environment, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was just like any little thing, like, why are you turning around so much? Why does it take you so long to put it on the plate? Like, all of that shit. Like, and the station that I worked at when I first started was, we shared the pass, right? So like my low boy was underneath the CDC, whoever's calling the tickets, the expediter's pass. So he's literally staring at me the entire, like
the
directly
worst.
in front of me.
Especially
the entire
when they need
service.
the dish and you're like,
right.
That minute is like the worst minute.
It was wild because like every single thing I did, he was right there. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, as a shithead cook, even in Michelin star restaurants, when you really care, like sometimes you like cut a couple corners. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like you got to do what you got to do sometimes, but you
Yes,
can't
exactly.
because chef is literally right fucking there all night.
So you have to tell them, I'm very sorry, chef. This is going to take 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Excuse me?
Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah.
That's
Anyways,
crazy.
honestly, like, obviously some negative things, right? Restaurants at that time were not a great place. Still not a great place. But, like, I learned so much there, and I have a very fond memory of Kwa.
And we were talking about this, too, because there's a lot of other people that, you know, live through that restaurant that don't have nice things to say about that restaurant. And it's all about perspectives and your truth. Right. So just because this other person over here hated that restaurant and, you know, it made them feel this other way, you benefited from that and you became a better chef because of it.
Totally.
Is that the rightest thing in the world? No. But neither is having a fucking cell phone. Right? So it's what?
Right, totally.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, Daniel Patterson, especially towards the end of my time there, was definitely a big mentor of mine. Like, he was another person that kind of, at the end, took me under his wing and, like, you know, really cared. So
can you call him to this day? They pick up the phone?
No.
They usually don't.
I send him a message on Instagram every now and then, like, you know, whatever, and he'll respond. You know, I was doing gap year. He sent me a message, told me my food was looking good, which was like, you know, a huge compliment. And I learned a tremendous amount there. I think the way that I season food is because of him. Like, that's all that, like, all of the technique and stuff was was all really simple food, right? But like the amount of care that went into the perfect, like the actual perfect balance of acid, salt, and fat was mind-blowing. I mean, I was telling you earlier, it's like every single thing that you made throughout your prep day, and more especially during service, like anytime you put a sauce to heat, even if it had been tasted already, you need to get it retasted by the person on the pass before you can put it on the plate. Every single thing you do was tasted by the chef every single time.
Yeah.
It really mattered to him. And like picks would, take fucking 15 minutes for like a dish because like he tasted it and it's like a little bit too salty. And he's like, throw it away, start again, like make a new puree. You're like, fuck.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, like some of the water had evaporated off of the puree in your pint deli and it's like a little bit salty now. And they're like, new puree,
Oh,
Yeah.
That's the worst. So you spent 2 years there, and they said Kirkley came on.
Yeah. Kirkley took over.
At that time, you were like, "Bro, I'm not ready for more.
I'm not
intensity.
ready for that shit." Yeah. I was like,
sure.
it was like. Also, not only was I not ready for new intensity, but single thread was being talked about. It was like in the planning phase, or more than the planning phase, it was like starting to be built.
They were doing dinners.
Yeah, they were doing dinners. Yeah, totally. I had a connection from a friend of mine. For one of the people that was going to be the opening sous chefs there, and I had just like heard these crazy things about Chef Kyle and whatever, and that's like really where I wanted to go. So I decided like I was going to leave Quam and I was going to try my hardest to get a job at Single Thread, which everyone else was also trying their hardest to get a job. A Single Thread is like a big thing.
They had a huge team to start.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they still do.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, and they added lunch on too. So like when I was leaving, they were hiring a lot more cooks because they were adding another service. But there was a lot of people.
Yeah.
And also, like, when I was there, they were only allowing us to work 8 hours a day, which was good. And looking back on it, I wish I would have taken advantage of that. But, like, I was young and hungry. Like, I wanted to work, right?
So you
like,
would just stay?
I would legit sneak in. I would sneak in early in the morning to start cooking. And, the CDC or one of the sous chefs would come around and be like, dude, you can't be here. Like legit, we only want these people to work 8 hours a day. Like, you have to go, right?
Yeah. Because I also get into that kind of talk these days where it's like, I had when I was opening up Yangban, some of the cooks would like try to work through their lunch. I'm like, bro, if we are going to change this industry, we need your participation. Yeah. So if you keep working through lunch, we're never going to fucking get anywhere.
Yeah.
Because there's still going to be that mentality of like, I need to work through lunch or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also that, like, I don't know, it's probably just drilled into our heads now, but like, you feel bad when you're not there, right? You're like, people are there working right now. Like, was my station perfect? It probably wasn't. Like, I should be there prepping it,
And that's the fucking
it's a
worst
toxic
part.
mentality.
Because people talk shit.
Yeah. Oh,
that's all
sure,
they fucking do. That's the worst part of it, man. I'm like, bro, the world's already negative enough. I don't need to hear your fucking opinion on how I
had a rough night last night. I'm sorry that it's not completely prepped out or whatever. You know?
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, there's a whole thing to it. I think like even if we were to work 8 hours a day, like the 8 hours a day needs to be compensated properly still, right? Because like a lot of people were like, we're offering you a better, living experience by only letting you work 8 hours a day. We're like, yeah, well, I also make $900 every 2 weeks now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's not enough to live. You know what I mean? Like sure, I don't feel exhausted.
Yeah.
But I also can do zero things outside of work now. It's like I mean, it's got to be everything all at once. Like it can't just be like.
But we gave you work-life balance for what? So I can get another job to fucking pay my bills.
Exactly.
It's like,
so I can become a bartender now too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like what the fuck?
We all felt that.
$1,800 a month is what what you're making at $8 for 8 hours
in Rhode Island. I was making $350 a week.
Yeah, when I first started cooking, it was $400 a week.
Bro, but even
I felt fucking rich though. $400 a week for a 15-year-old. I was like, dude, I'm crushing.
That's crazy.
That's funny. So went to Single Thread. Honestly, I really wish that I would have stayed longer. I only stayed for 6 months. I think it mainly was because I really wanted to work harder than, like, don't get me wrong, like, it was hard what we were doing, and I was learning a good amount, but I wanted to do things that were, like, way more technical. After meeting Kirkley and reading all these books that he gave me and whatever, like, I was really into that, and I thought that not that he ever sold single thread like that, but he was the R&D chef from the Fat Duck, right? So I was like, this guy's going to be doing some crazy shit, you know? But he wanted single thread to be like simple,
yeah,
you know? And at the time, I didn't understand it, you know? Like, I was like, you have such a pedigree. Like, we could be doing the coolest fucking food in the world right now. You have the money behind it. We have the establishment. We've got everything here to do like the coolest food the world has ever seen. But you don't want to. Like, you wanted to do like, you know, blanched, you know, broccolini from the farm with like a gomodare sauce. And I was like, dude, I don't want to do this, you know?
Yeah.
And I wish that I would have stayed longer, because I think, like, looking back on it now, it's like some of the best food that I've ever cooked in my career, right? It's still fine dining. It's still technique oriented, but it's like actually really good, you know? So I definitely, that's like one of my regrets in life, is not staying there long.
Yeah. How long did you work there
And
total?
I think like 7 months.
7 months.
6 months of it were actually cooking. We like started a month early before it opened. I was working the Denabe station, which was like super cool. Like, I was cooking in clay pots all day, you know? And that was like, you know, Kyle's baby. Like, it was like he wrote the book on it, right?
Yeah.
So he was like super, he was like very, very, he was there every day with me, cooking me, showing how to use the Denabes. It was really cool, you know? I just wanted to do like, you know, more technique driven stuff. And it was dumb. I was just young and still like, you know, didn't know exactly what I wanted. I should have stayed longer.
I hear you. Who would you work with? Justin McMillan, Ploy? Did Ploy work there?
Justin McMillan. Ploy was not there. It was Max Sheffield. It was one of the sous chefs. Aaron Koseba was the CDC. Trying to think, man. So many people.
It's a fucking
Scott,
powerhouse restaurant. I mean,
Danny Romo.
Yeah.
You know Danny Romo?
No.
That's the dude. He's a funny guy. He's a pastry over there. Dave Dreyfus. How could I forget Dave Dreyfus?
Dave Dreyfus, Best Damn Cookies. Shout out.
Yeah. Shout out. Like, great cookies, even better human, honestly.
Oh,
like,
amazing. Literally the nicest person.
Yeah.
One of the biggest supporters of the show. Like,
super cool.
He's one of those dudes that, like, for whatever reason, you know how we chefs are. We're very self-deprecating. When shit doesn't work out perfectly, when the podcast doesn't go that great, I beat myself up.
Yeah.
And he's, like, always there at the perfect time. Sends me a random message like, oh, hey,
just
man,
thinking
like,
about you, love you.
Yeah, dude. And
you're like,
it's
dude,
like,
how do you know?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. All the time.
It's like,
all the time.
Yeah.
He's just, I don't know. He's got this like sixth sense, man. He just knows. He knows when you're feeling a little bit down, and he's just gonna send you a funny message or tell you that he misses you or something.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful dude.
Honestly, like, it's not, you know, like you were saying, you worked in kitchens, you were a bigger guy. It's a little bit easier for you, just based on, you know, nobody's gonna, like, half the room isn't gonna fuck with you. You know what I mean? It takes a bigger chef than you to, like, right? And when you're like his build, you know, you're fucking short, you're skinny, people fuck with you,
and you're goofy
all the fucking time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like high school all over again, you know.
Yeah.
So I would say he's one of the most resilient cooks, chefs that I know.
Yeah.
'Cause he's worked at some of the most cutthroat kitchens.
Has
made it through, lived to tell about it, and
he
left
just
on his
everyone.
Yeah, he
You know
left
what I
on
mean?
his own terms.
Yeah.
You know, which is not.
He's way smarter than most people.
Oh,
in the
fuck
room.
yeah, baby!
He's
Can't wait to see what he does with them cookies.
Yeah. They're fucking
They're
delicious.
really
Have you
good.
had them? They're
The OG.
so good.
Every time I'm in
Every
New York,
one of
I
them.
go.
I had this. He made this like white chocolate and seaweed one.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when he was first starting to do it, dude, fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not usually into shit like that, especially with pastries. You know, like don't try to make it weird. But man, was it delicious.
Yeah.
I was really into it. Everything I've tried has been really delicious by him. He's super talented.
Super happy for him, and I'm happy that he's you know, able to do all the things that he can dream of. Really.
Yeah.
He's got a good
working
team
his ass
over
off,
there
but
too.
he's doing it, man.
Yeah,
I tell
for
him
sure.
every time I talk to him, I'm like, I'm so proud of you, dude. Like, that's
Yeah.
so cool. He just, I don't know. I mean, for anyone to just like take an inkling of a dream and say, you know what, I'm gonna fucking do it all the way.
Yeah.
And then actually do it.
Yeah.
That's such a big thing, man.
With
we all
cookies,
think
too?
with anything.
Yeah.
Right. We all think about these great ideas that would be super successful or whatever. Most of us don't do them.
Yeah.
You know.
But I will say it's definitely it's all about like where you live too. Because if you have people around you that are also have that same mentality of like, I want to grow this business with you.
Totally.
Like, let's face it, chefs are not business people. Like we are the ideas people. We're the artists. We're the doer. We do it. And sometimes,
which is part of the problem.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because we don't think about the fucking
right.
consequences or anything. And I feel like it's always good to have a team, no matter what. And then you look at artists anywhere, really, Ludacris, fucking Pink, whatever. They all have a team. They'll have a crew around them, keeping them humble, like letting them know,
pumping them up,
all
of it, right?
Yeah, you got a booger in your nose, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, if you're solo, bro, like, and that's why every day I'm like, God, can somebody just please come by and help me with this podcast? Like, come by, be my producer. You know what I mean? So I'm just like putting that out in the earth. I'm sure somebody's going to come. What I'm going to do is wait for the school year and go hit up a college and find an intern. Because
you want some real world experience?
Yeah, bro. You want some real world? You want to hang out with some fucking chefs? How old are you? 17? Let's go. Fuck it.
That's so funny.
But, I mean, honestly, you got them that young, and it's like, how cool would it be for that person to, his dream of, like, maybe producing a podcast is his dream or whatever, being a producer, and he gets to do that shit full bore with me not over his shoulder. It's kind of like, it's that John Yao. Not having that mentor to tell you, oh, that's wrong, which kind of takes away the fear of doing anything.
Right. Yeah.
So,
John Yao from Cato, you talking about? Dude, he staged at Qual when I was there.
Oh, really?
And they offered him a job, which is like so unheard of for a stage to get a job. And he was like, no, I don't think I want to. And, honestly. And like I love the kid. He would come out drinking with us every now and then. He was a really hard worker. He fucking did everything right. And he had zero experience, man. Like, not zero, but barely any experience, right? There were stages there that had been at really awesome places. And here comes John Yao without much experience and just like crushing these people.
It's a level of fear.
Yeah.
There's no fear within him. So he could just like, oh, I'm not going to fuck this up.
And when he went to open the restaurant, I wasn't really sure what to think because I didn't, I don't know. Oftentimes when you open a restaurant without a bunch of experience, the food you do is like kind of bland and, stuff you see on Instagram, right? But I think the food that John Yao is doing is really, really cool.
He really thinks about it.
Yeah. And it's more than just that, right? It's super heartfelt, right? Like a lot of that shit is stuff that he ate from his childhood that he's just like changed into something new, right?
Have you eaten there?
I haven't, but we're moving to LA in September.
Dope. What are you doing down there? The same job?
Yeah. I work remote right now.
Oh, you're working remote, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
You always
matter.
want to live in LA? Or are you doing it for spouse reasons?
I don't know if I've always wanted to live in LA. I've been a couple times. I think it's cool. I have a lot of friends down there. Like the majority of people I met in San Francisco moved down to LA at some point.
Where would you live? Where are you living?
We don't know yet. Our buddy's gonna give us a place to live for a month, so we're gonna stay there and try to find a spot.
Santa Monica.
Yeah.
It's like the quality of life over there, as far as LA goes, I just like it more.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit more open, a little bit. It's like Oakland versus downtown LA is fucking San Francisco.
Right.
And it's like it's just a little bit like I don't know about this.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe we'll check out that area. I think they're like right next to Koreatown.
K-Town's not bad either.
Yeah.
It's probably the most affordable too.
And man, do I love Korean food. So
yeah, for sure. I actually got to take him to Korean barbecue.
Oh.
My bro, the producer right now.
Yeah.
Where should I take him?
Ooh.
Oakland, Bay Area.
Okay.
Give me, let's just say one restaurant to rule them all.
Korean barbecue. I think that there's a place on 18th and Geary in San Francisco called Brothers Charcoal, and it's like kind of run down and like
you know what? That's the second time we've heard of this.
Oh, yeah?
Connie McGuire actually told us about it.
Yeah. It's one of the only places for Korean barbecue that actually uses charcoal. A lot of the places in SF use gas fuel.
Oh shit, they use charcoal. Okay.
Yeah, so it actually gets hot and it actually cooks your meat and sears it, and you get a nice Maillard reaction.
Oh,
and
lovely.
The flavor of
that's
the
the worst part about it.
Yeah.
And they're kind of lazy with the dishwash situation, so they come and take it before anything's even seared, and you're like, bro.
Totally.
Come on.
So I think that place is my favorite purely because there's real charcoal. I don't think that their banchan is any better than other places or whatever.
Right.
But for really, I think the best Korean food in San Francisco, there's a place called Daeho. And it's mostly just soups, but they do galbi jim, which is like, it's like, I don't know, it's like beef stew with like, sometimes you can get rice cakes in it or whatever, and then they like cover it in cheese and like torch it or whatever. It's super delicious.
Yeah.
They're actually from LA. They have a spot in LA and they moved out here. But yeah, that's my favorite.
I never understood corn cheese. I was like, you can order this here, and it's just corn and cheese.
Yeah,
That's it.
I don't know much about that.
Like,
Alice had never heard about it. We used to go to a place called Coco Bang all the time after work because they were open till 3 o'clock in the morning, and we would get corn cheese. It was like, I worked with 2 Korean people, Nate Makowski and James Lee,
right?
And we would always go to Coco Bang and get corn cheese. I don't know. It's just like a drunk, it's like a drunk Korean thing to do. You know?
Wait a minute. Did James work at Meadowwood?
No.
Okay, wrong James. There was another Korean.
He's worked in a lot of places.
Yeah.
In the Bay Area, he's Till Ukraine, like he staged at Benny for a while. He's working at San Juan right now. Which, oh shit, have you been to San Juan?
No,
dude. Do you know what San Juan is?
No, where
San Juan is Corey Lee's Korean barbecue place.
Oh, okay.
And it's like definitely more upscale than like a regular Korean barbecue place. But we went, and it's seriously like top 5 meals of my life. It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Lovely.
And like when you go ball out, you know what I mean? Like get all of the banchan, get all of the sides.
Okay.
Get some more expensive meats. It's like so good.
Okay. Yeah. I went to Cote recently in New York.
Oh.
Korean. It's like basically like.
Yeah.
But I liked it, because they cooked everything. I like to go cook everything myself.
Yeah, they cook everything in San Juan as well.
But then you go to some places where they're cooking everything for you, but they're not letting the meat sear enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
I mean, these are like these are Bennu people. You know,
yeah.
This is like,
okay.
Like Corey Lee people.
Understood.
It's like the real deal, man. It's super delicious.
Dressed in all white as well.
I think so. Yeah. I think they don't wear chef jackets. I think they just wear like white t-shirts.
For anybody that worked at Bennu, that uniform is tough, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, like white shoes. Like
white shoes. You kidding me?
How do you keep that?
I don't
clean?
even buy white sneakers, bro.
Yeah. Me either. I can't.
Like, no.
And that's out of a kitchen. No way.
Yeah.
Zero chance.
No way.
Yeah.
No. It's crazy.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. So where were we? Single thread.
Right. Single
went
thread.
to Lazy Bear. Lazy Bear was a short stint. I actually love Lazy Bear. I think it's really cool.
Who was there while you were working? Was Joe Sasto there?
Joe Sasto left, and I didn't take his position because he was like the executive sous chef.
Right.
But because he was leaving, there was a new sous chef position open, so I replaced him.
Gotcha.
I knew Joe Sasto already from Qua and Quince are like a block away from each other.
Okay.
So they were always at the same.
You're partying with him and shit.
Right,
Got you. Did he have the mustache back then?
He's always had the mustache.
He's always had the mustache.
Ever since I've known him.
Right.
Which I got, I started at Qua, 9 years ago.
Yeah.
He's had the mustache, yeah.
I mean, it's a nice mustache.
It's a nice mustache. Yeah. He's a character.
I'd like to write it, chef.
Love it.
Can we still talk shit or what?
Yeah.
Come on, we're still chefs. Let's go. Come on. Let's have some fun. So you left Lazy Bear. Did you have a plan when you left where you're going to go, or you were like, I just need to get out of here? This isn't the right thing.
Single thread, you're saying? When I left single thread?
No, meaning when you went to Lazy Bear.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, I'm in the wrong trajectory. Yes.
Yeah. So when I left single thread, did I have a plan? No. I just need to get out of there. Right. It was like, I don't know, we were living in a place with a lot of cooks, and there was a lot of negative energy, and just like people weren't, again, I seriously think it's like one of the greatest restaurants that I've ever worked at, but at the time, we just had like this toxic environment that we were living in.
Yeah. Because
everyone was kind of bummed out, and we were just surrounded by it all the time. So I was like, I just need to get out of here. And
well, Healdsburg.
There's not much to do.
That's the fucking problem with those places. And that's why I think cities flourish more with restaurants, because you can feed that lifestyle. Of like, all right, shit, we can go out till 4 a.m.
Right.
Word up.
Yeah.
Healdsburg fucking single thread is the place
Dukes
that's open the
11.
latest.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are the latest.
Right, totally.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was difficult.
Did you ever cook the breakfast?
No, I was never on breakfast.
Okay.
At the time, we didn't even have many guests at the time. Like, when we first opened the restaurant, the hotel rooms were still
being built,
kind of under construction. Like, some of them were open, but not all of them. Like, things were being finished. So
that space, was it a complete build out? Like, did they build out the building, or did they take another space over?
Building, I think there was remnants of it. It used to be a post office.
Okay.
Something like that.
Right.
And it burned down. And I think that I actually don't know if they rebuilt it or someone before them rebuilt it, but it used to be a burned down post office. I didn't see it happen. It is beautiful, though. it seems like it was new though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it took a fucking long time to build. So
they renovated, even if there was a skeleton of a building.
Yeah,
they took everything.
They renovated
and
the fuck out of
right,
it.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So no, I didn't really have a plan. I just like needed to get out of there, try something new.
Right. So you got out of there. What was your plan?
I wanted to make money, which is why I went to Lazy Bear.
We all been there.
Because Lazy Bear is intense in like a completely different way than you've ever experienced, because they do like 40 people at once twice a night. You know, it's like the dinner party format.
Banquet is it's one of the biggest regretful filled dinners, because every course you're like, oh fuck, did we forget that? Yeah. All 80 are gone already. Totally. You can't.
That being said, it's what they did every fucking night of the week, and they had Michelin stars. And honestly, like, you know, look, like doing 40 people at once, there's no way that the food is going to be as good as if you can spend it doing 2 plates.
100.
But they fucking crushed it for what they were doing.
Right.
Like those dishes were like detail oriented and delicious, and a lot of them were hot when they went out, which is crazy.
You know what? That don't even happen at places that do a la carte.
Exactly. Like they do a really good job. I don't think they do the dinner party style anymore, but Lazy Bear is a really special place, honestly.
Yeah.
And also is a place that makes money, which is like almost unheard of in fine dining. You know, like they pay their cooks well. Like, look, they work hard days, right? Like they're still working 13 hours a day. It's stressful as fuck. Dinner services are hard. You know, there are attitudes and all of the things, right? But you're making like $25 an hour, $26 an hour. It makes it a little bit more tolerable, you know? And they have dental insurance. As soon as they start, like they have coverage, right? As soon as they start, not like we wait 3 months. Like you start, you have insurance, right?
That's dope.
Yeah, it's cool. And I think they've started like 401k and shit like that. Like David Barzilay is a good human as well. He's a business genius, a good chef, and a good human. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Lazy Bear is a great place. I would have stayed there for a lot longer if I hadn't been offered that position.
Right, if you started as a
Bocuse.
cook.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
No, yeah, for Bocuse, yeah.
So you get offered the Bocuse. You say,
I leave.
Hell yeah, I'm doing this. Where are you living during that time that you're training for this?
I was living with my partner at the time, and we were training at Qua, but overnight. So I would get to Qua at 9 p.m.
Right.
And we would work until like 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. the next day. So we would like get out and go buy beer at 1 p.m. and have like our nighttime, you know, tall boy at 2 p.m. and then go sleep.
All fucking day.
Yeah. And we did that for months.
How was that? I've always wanted to work a graveyard shift.
It was fucking strange, honestly, because like I would wake up and you still need coffee, right? Like, so I would like go get coffee from the mill. At the time was serving pizza and they were open till 9.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, what other cafes open at 9 o'clock? You know what I mean? So I would go get a slice of pizza and, 2 cold brews. And I would chug the cold brews and then go work through the night. It's strange to get used to at first, but like after a while, it just kind of becomes normal. It's still a little bit disorienting to like walk outside after your shift and it'd be like the middle of the day, you know?
Right.
Yeah. But it was cool though, because like I would go for a walk after work and it would be daytime, which is kind of weird.
Very nice. It's better than having your afternoon at 3 a.m.
Right, exactly. Yeah, where a bunch of nothing good is happening at 3 a.m.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Not at all.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was crazy. Like during that time, Kirkley got 3 stars. And
that must have been insane.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that insane. I mean, it was insane. Like what they did was crazy. Like there's no way that Qua should have ever been 3 stars. Like the restaurant is run down. It's like super old. They didn't put any money into the kitchen. It's 100% just the food that Kirkley and Riley did at the time. There's no other explanation for it.
Right.
That restaurant is not a 3-star restaurant besides the food.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the Michelin Guide is only looking at food and not service?
No, most of the times no. But I think that the food was that technical and that good that they were like, we can't not. You know,
right.
We can't not give them 3 stars. It's that good.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
mm-hmm.
Supposedly it's only the food, right? That's what they say in the guide, is that it's only the food, and then you're awarded like the forks and
the forks,
whatever for like your service and wine list or whatever. But it's hard to believe that that's not the
Yeah.
case. You know what I mean? Like, you see a lot of 3-star Michelin restaurants that you're like, really? You know, like, this is 3 stars? But I think they probably have amazing service and, you know,
Do you
whatever.
think that capitalism is having to do with that? Is, you know, as a business, Michelin is like, we need to grow next year. What are we going to do? Because now they're in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
So-
There was that one year in San Francisco where, like, fucking 21-star Michelins were awarded. Or
Yeah, that's
something
what,
like
yeah.
that. It's wild.
Exactly.
You
When
know?
I came to California, there was only 2.
Yeah.
Laundry and Meadowood.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then now,
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's,
many.
there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember that, like, the Michelin Guide, like, made the Michelin Guide to sell tires, right?
Yeah.
Like, at the time, they were like, you get to restaurants by driving. You know what I mean? So, like, you're gonna need tires to do this. You know what I mean? That's why they created that shit. I'm sure there was some love for food and whatever, but, like,
Of course.
it's capitalism, right? It's a business. They're trying to make money, you know? And it became this crazy thing, but, like,
Do you think Miami bidded to have the guy down there?
I don't know. I was pretty blown away by it.
There's no way. Like, when I think of all the cities that should have Michelin and don't, and then I think Miami. No, I'm not putting out all the chefs over there.
Yeah.
But it just feels like it was Miami being like, yo, we need more tourism.
Right.
Here's fucking this much money. Bring the guide here.
I mean, I don't know because I don't know anything about the Miami food scene. I
Yeah.
don't know. I couldn't name a single restaurant
Me either.
in Miami. I
Yeah.
know one place called Rooster and Till, and they're in Tampa, and the food there is actually so good.
Right.
If you're ever in Tampa for any reason, go to Rooster and Till.
Same the Buccaneers,
But
maybe.
yeah, but I don't know any Miami restaurants. I couldn't name one. So maybe I just am out of sync with it, and there's like some cool shit going on.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'd bid for it. I don't know.
I don't know. I would love to think that they don't do that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
thing, but
They probably
I couldn't think of any reason other than that
Right,
to go
right.
to Miami.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
just like-
interesting.
it's weird.
It's interesting.
Like, why wouldn't you do just because it's the largest state and you'd probably sell more tires? Why don't you do Texas?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what
The food in Texas is actually
you
pretty
got?
good. I went to
Austin, Houston,
recently,
San Antonio. Like,
I went
there's
to Franklin's. Franklin's is so good.
oh yeah, really good.
I feel like a lot of times
Really good.
restaurants that are hyped like that are not.
No
they don't
good.
live up to the expectation.
Yeah.
But like I waited in line for 2 hours, and I was like, "This
Damn, you
better
went
be at
all in.
least
You
okay."
waited in line for 2 hours.
Yeah.
With lawn chairs or what?
No. We just waited. The Kendrick Lamar album came out that day, so I just like had it on repeat.
Which one?
The newest one that came out.
Oh, okay, got
Yeah.
you. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
yeah, the Big
Oh, he
Steppers,
talks
right.
a lot of stuff in that album that is truly like the evil of man.
Yeah.
You know what it is to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
an evil man,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Meaning, like, okay, yeah, you may have a spouse, but your fucking eyes and your brain are constantly like, I need to
yeah.
make babies.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So you're always like, looking
Honestly, I
at
think that album is incredible.
it is very,
Like,
it is very
there's
good.
definitely some controversial stuff on it, but like
Yeah.
I like during the penultimate song, the second to last song, I like actually shed tears. The Mother I Sober one. Mm-hmm. Fuck, dude, like there's some strong moments. Like Father Time is like the daddy issues one. Man,
Well, I mean,
I can't-
honestly,
like,
we're
who
all
would-
descendants of fucking daddy issues. That's
Right,
all. You know what I mean?
100%, yeah.
But I do feel like my generation, I think with you too, I feel like we are breaking that.
totally.
And I don't know
We're
if
talking about things more. That's the important thing, right?
Exactly.
Like, because of things like this, right? Like people can share their feelings on things and be heard, right? And even if people don't agree with your perspective, they're now aware of a different
Yeah.
perspective.
And
right?
then if I've said it multiple times on this podcast, if you disagree with anything that we talk on this podcast, you email suciotalk@gmail.com and I will have you on the show and we will fucking talk through it. Because that's what I want.
good,
I want
yeah.
at some point for
We need those
you know,
conversations.
Yeah, we've had a lot of falling outs in this industry, and I would love to have a reconciliation of a relationship that it was soured or whatever.
like the Jerry Springer of
Yeah,
the food
dude.
restaurant.
Fuck yeah, bro. All right, bring out Daniel Patterson.
right,
Daniel
right,
Patterson,
exactly,
everyone.
exactly.
Fucking,
Let's work through some problems.
fucking
baby.
Dave Wilco's over here, bro.
That's so funny. You should fucking have an episode like
Bro,
that. That shit is
that's
so
why
funny.
I had the panel. Not to say that they hate nobody
Yeah,
hated
yeah,
each other
yeah,
here,
yeah.
but the panel I feel like is where we're going.
Yeah.
I feel like it's important to have chefs be able to come on here, discuss their problems, their feelings for the industry, and maybe you might get a gem of knowledge that you didn't have before that will help you deal with that problem.
Right.
You know, and we never know until we don't talk about it. And that's why, like, when we talked about that Kendrick album, I'm like, he's talking some shit about men
it's
that
like a therapy session for himself, man.
That
it's
like happens, but no one talks about it, and it's like
there's a lot of people hating on it too, because it's not like there's not a lot of songs on that album that will be on the radio. You know what I mean? Like it's not for everyone, and especially if you're not actually listening to the lyrics. Like I could understand why people would dislike it, but I mean, he even says it in the album, like that album was specifically for him, right? Like he needed to do that, you know? And I respect the shit out of that, man, because I think that the music is like beautiful, and like I've got goosebumps probably 15 times listening to that album, like through the first time.
That phenomena is really cool.
Yeah,
getting goosebumps when you listen to music.
Totally.
Like music in general gives me that feeling a lot.
I'm really, really big into music. It's like if I could have done anything in the world, I would have done music.
Well, you're in Tampa. That's a lot of death metal out there.
A lot of metal. I was in metal bands.
Yeah. What are they called?
Hours in Exile.
Hours
I
in
think
Exile.
I think there's honestly still music on MySpace from when we were.
Are you're the vocalist, right?
I was one of two vocalists.
Can I get some metal vocals?
No, absolutely.
Come on, man.
Zero fucking chance. No. It's been like, go listen to Hours in Exile on MySpace.
Hours in Exile.
It's on MySpace.
MySpace, wow.
Because MySpace had music back then.
Have you been on
They had
MySpace
music
recently?
pages. No.
It's kind of weird. It's like
They redid it, right?
I don't know about redone. It just feels like they took all the coding away, so now it's just a website that says the information,
so funny,
like
right.
David, age, number, boom, and then it's got a bunch of like ads.
Facebook or something like that.
I don't know that they're trying to do anything with it other than like just have it there in case you want to log in again.
Interesting.
But your profile does not exist. It just says your name, like it'll say a couple things about you, and then the rest of it is like these weird ads. Right. Yeah, exactly. Remember that shit?
That's funny. Yeah, that was interesting.
That's
a weird thing, right? Like you're like, I'm not that person's best friend.
Yeah.
I'm two?
Yeah. Dude,
You know
I'm
what I mean?
glad we had MySpace because I learned how to deal with Instagram from it and Facebook.
That's so funny.
Like, from MySpace, you learned, like, okay, a friends list, they're not really your friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're not.
If I would have just gone into Facebook, I'd have been like, no one likes me.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah. Dude, MySpace, that's a trip, dude. That's like everyone's first introduction to coding. Right?
Yeah.
So where were we? We were fucking talking about, Kirkley getting 3 stars.
Right. So he gets the 3 stars.
Gets the 3
Was
stars.
he always leaving?
He already decided to leave, because...
how did that go over in that kitchen?
Even if he didn't get the position as like the chef for Team USA, he was going to leave. It did not go over well.
Daniel Patterson's probably like, you're fucking me over.
No, I think Daniel Patterson was fine with it. I think if anyone had a good relationship with Daniel Patterson, like a good working relationship with Daniel Patterson, it was Kirkley, you know?
Right.
Anyways, so I mean, like, he got the call. I remember we were outside smoking a cigarette, and it was like, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever. We were working overnight, so it was like towards the end of our shift, and we were smoking a cigarette, and we were plating up the platter for the first time. The first time we were like putting together the platter for the competition, right? And we had like hit some difficulties, and we weren't sure how we wanted to plate it, so we were outside and we were discussing that, and he got the phone call, and he's like, okay. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Great. Hung up. I was like, everything okay? He's like, I just got 3 stars. I was like, dude, what? Congratulations. He's like, do you think that we should move that piece of it over here a little bit? Like, it didn't affect him, right? He was so fucking focused on the next thing. Like, he never celebrated. I don't think that they ever went out. Like, the team, I'm sure, went out. But we were working overnights, right? So, like, he couldn't go out with him at 12 a.m. because we were working on the competition. Right? So there was never a time where he got to go out and, like, say, like, fuck, you guys did an incredible job. We all did an amazing thing, right?
That's
like we had a beer on the way home or whatever, but, like, it wasn't like a celebration. You know
what's funny? That's an old school chef for you. That is like every single birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving that you spend in the kitchen. You're just like, hey, man, Happy New Year. All right, let's go clean the fryers.
It's part of the reason why everyone's so fucking depressed, right? It's because, like, no no one takes any time in the restaurant industry to like take a step back and like really celebrate accomplishments. And I'm not talking like getting 3 stars. Like you should absolutely celebrate that, but little things, right? Like I broke down my first fish without fucking up a pin bone, right? One of those things, right? Like you should be stoked on that. And we're just so focused on like getting there on time, getting to the next thing, whatever, right? That we just don't take that time to like appreciate the growth that we've had as an individual or as a professional or whatever. And that's not healthy, you know? Like we need those like those, you know, serotonin filled moments to exist, you know? If your entire life is just like stress and meeting deadlines, like fuck dude, you're going to be sad, you know? And I feel like that has to be part of it. Like most chefs I know don't celebrate the small things, right? Like whenever you ever seen like, I don't know, like an actual celebration for like someone being at a restaurant for a year, like, yeah, maybe you like, I don't know, the chef goes out and gets a drink with him afterwards or whatever, 1 beer, but it's not like a thing, you know? Like maybe it is for some people. I'm not saying everyone doesn't, but like in a lot of those kitchens, like fuck, like people even remembering that you were there for a year is like a rare thing, you know? Like my year at Qua, like I didn't even know it was my year. You know what I mean? Like you're just going, you know? And I don't know. I think that can't be healthy, you know?
No, definitely not. But while you're in it, you don't even take into account that
don't
it's
even
happening.
Think about it, right? Like you're just fucking going.
Which is where, you know, where I come into like, yes, I love to hustle. However, I'm going to enjoy this hustle. I'm going to look around. I'm going to smell the flowers, you know, and enjoy every single triumph and every single failure.
Totally.
Because
it's important.
You know,
and I think it took for a lot of people a pandemic, a global pandemic, for them to take a step back and say like, yeesh, I need to enjoy more things in life.
For
right?
sure. For me, it was a big part of doing the road trip was the fact that I lost out on a chance to eat at a lot of restaurants because I made excuses for myself. Oh, you know, you work 6 days this week. You shouldn't really go out. Oh, you know, you got work tomorrow. Don't go out. It's like, bro, you got work tomorrow? Go out. You got a 2-day weekend? Fly out the night after you get out of work. Fucking go somewhere and come back.
You gotta have like, experiences, man. Fuck, dude. Like, I can't. Like, well, man. I mean, like we went out to eat at restaurants. At least I did when I was a cook. Right?
Always.
That was the exciting thing. But like, other than that, like, you never fucking had money to travel. You never had time off to travel. You never had, you know. I don't know, man. Like, I think we need that. We need to see new things to feel inspired, right? You can't just be behind the fucking stove every fucking day. Like, how are you going to possibly create good food if you're just, like, staring at the same fucking 4 burners or 6 burners or French top for 18 hours a day, 6 days a week? It can't happen, dude. Can't happen.
That's why there's a large respect that needs to be put on those people that work at restaurants as just a job and not a passion. Because they do that. They go to work. They work for fucking 12 hours a day. Don't bat an eye at anything. You know, do their work and leave. And it's like, sometimes I wish I had that ability. You know? I look at myself, I'm like, I should go work at Foot Locker for like 3 months. You know?
I told myself getting into engineering that, like, I don't care, right? Like, the rest of my life is not about a passion. It's about like living and being a human. Right. And if I hate my job, it doesn't matter as long as it's 8 hours a day and the compensation is good. Right. Luckily, I really enjoy what I do, but I would have been totally fine not liking what I do from now on. You know? Maybe that's a cop out. Maybe I sold out or whatever. I don't care, man. Like, I've got a dog and a great relationship and a fucking beautiful house that I get to be in all the time. We see the sunlight, we cook dinner at home, we go out to restaurants, we go to fucking up north 2 hours, I get to go to Mexico, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm enjoying life. And that is so much better than like, they gave you a Michelin star. Like, who fucking cares anymore? Honestly, like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, dude, have you guys ever had a dog? Dude, dogs are so dope. Seriously.
I've never had a dog.
It's incredible, you know? It's way better than, like, you know, receiving a Michelin star or, you know, getting, like, art of plating to feature your dish. Like, fuck off. Who cares? You know? Like, who cares? Everyone's being treated like shit, and that all of that stuff doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
So why do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, do it if you love it, camera.
Right.
But
see, that's the thing. That's the problem that we have to solve. It's like, how do we keep fine dining, but then move into this new era of
keep it inspiring,
where we're going,
and keep it healthy, and
at the end of the day, you or I probably wouldn't have started cooking if we didn't know that there was this higher echelon that you could reach.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
totally.
If being a chef was just like, you work at a hospital or you work at Chili's, like I don't think I'd have been a fucking
no one
chef.
would aspire to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so
maybe some people, but most people would not, right? The reason that I loved it is because there was always somewhere better to go, right? There's always another step up, you know?
Always.
And then eventually it's your food, which is a different step. It's a step in a different direction, but you know, you can. I truly felt like that when I started doing my own food. It was like relearning how to cook all over again. You're like starting from the bottom again. You've made it to the top of this side, and then you take a step over and go all the way down, and then you have to learn how to be a chef again. You know,
because people ask me like, "Oh, what's your food?" And I'm like, I don't know. I was an executive chef at a restaurant that had an owner. So, I was doing my food, but I never really got to do my food or explore it.
I felt really lucky about Gap Year, dude.
Not a lot of people get to do that.
It was pretty wild, honestly, that they just put their faith in me like that, right? Like, they were like, we're going to move to France. You're doing a good job here. I, had half of the menu when it was still Nico was mine and half of it was his. Like, he was letting me put dishes on the menu, which was kind of weird because like our food is very like it's a stark difference, right?
Yeah.
But if it's both good, French, but it was like, you know, it was way different.
But I think he understands that if he puts a guy like you in charge and lets you go, that you're gonna make him more successful in that way.
Yeah,
than
I think
he would
so.
if he was just like, oh, do what I say.
Again, he was a good person and a family man. Like, he wanted to be, like, his daughter was always in the restaurant. Like, the dog was there. Like, you know, it was a good place. Like, it was a good culture. And, like, he really cares about that shit, right? And, like, he decided, like, look, this person, me, is, like, doing a good job here enough that I trust him to, like, run it by himself. Because that wasn't originally the goal, right? Like, I just wanted to go and do like some food, like start practicing being creative, putting a dish on here, dish on there, whatever. And then he ended up was just like, hey, we're going to move to France. We're going to give it to you. And we're going to have Paul Einbund from the Morris be like, watch over it, be kind of the front of the house, you know, whatever. Do the wine program, yada, yada. But the food is you. Like, you get to do whatever you want. Right. And they never actually moved because they were still planning it, and then the pandemic hit, and they were like, well, we got to stay now, you know? But they were rarely there. Like, Nico would come in because you could tell he was a little bit bored and, like, wanted to be around it again, you know? And he would come up and he would ask if there's anything that he could do for us, and I'd be like, no, just, like, hang out, you know what I mean?
Don't
like,
do anything,
you
chef.
own this place. Like, you're on vacation,
good.
You know what I mean? Like, just chill, you know? But he was super supportive, and every time, like, I didn't need to, like, I could put a dish on the menu without anyone questioning it, right? But like, I would always 100% of the time have Nico there because I think he's just like so fucking talented. He's got a great palate, and he sees things because our food was so different. He saw things from a different perspective, right? So like, often he would be like, this is very good, but like, do you really need that? You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't do this. It's fine, but like, does it need to be on there? You know what I mean? What is it adding? Like, it was a good person to have to ask questions, but not tell me like it needs to be done this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which was super fucking awesome to have. Like, a lot of people don't have that on their first chef gig. You know, someone that they can like, that is invested in the restaurant and invested in you as a chef, but doesn't tell you how to do things. Just like, think about it. You know what I mean?
That doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
So like, it's
super
in my
fucking
experience,
lucky.
you're probably
Right.
the only one. Is he doing the gap year again?
No. Little secret for everyone. The gap year was never supposed to be a gap year. It was a gap year because they didn't know how long they were going to move, but they were pretty sure they're going to stay longer.
Right.
And they wanted to test out and see if what I was doing was going to be successful. And if it wasn't, then you could fail without any pressure.
Right.
Right? Because you're like, it was supposed to end in a year anyways. You know what I mean? But if it was successful and we were doing well, we were just going to continue, you know? Which is a little bit sneaky, but like kind of a great plan. And it put a lot less pressure on what we were doing, which I think allowed us to be more adventurous, you know, because like if it sucked and people didn't come, like it was over in a year. I got to do cool food for a year, something that I enjoyed, and then leave, you know?
So again, the runway to allow you to fail yourself.
Fuck, dude, it's crazy.
Most valuable
like
thing.
how many people are given a restaurant that they can fail with, right?
Yeah. Not many.
Dude, it's what, and like, of course, like I don't want to fail.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do anything I possibly can not to fail. And I was super concerned with numbers and everything, right? Like it wasn't like they were just like, you know, do whatever, you know, it's yours now. You don't know what you're doing. Like I tried my hardest, right? But it was like, there wasn't that like immense amount of pressure that you get for running your own restaurant or running another person's kitchen, right? Yeah, I mean, it was pretty fucking wild, man. And like it was slow at first. I think like the first couple of weeks we were really busy because it was like buzzed about and like, you know, we had gotten a couple articles and whatnot, and we were exhausted going into it because we were working like more than we'd ever worked. And then it slowed down a little bit. We were doing like 20 covers a night, whatever. And then towards the end of it, we got like this fucking pump and we were like really busy. Like every single night we were really busy and it felt awesome. We're like, dude, this is going to be big. Like people are going to be stoked about this, you know? It felt really good. And then pandemic, you know? And I think like right away, well, not right away, like after like a couple weeks when this thing kept going and going and going, like we did like takeout food or whatever. But like after a bit, we were like, all right, well, this isn't going to continue, right? Like gap year's over, right? Even if it only lasts 6 months, like that's half of your year gone, right? So yeah, I think I knew at that point that like it was probably done for gap year. And it was a sad feeling because like I think that we could have accomplished a good amount in that time. And I think that our food was heading in an even cooler direction because we were so tired that I look back on the food now and like I'm very proud of what we did, but I think that it was a little bit too much in a lot of areas. And I think that a lot of young chefs do that, right? They're like trying to prove themselves and like do it too much. Don't get me wrong, like it was definitely on the top of my mind all the time, but like I was so excited about these techniques and whatever, and like we were just doing too many dishes, we were putting too many garnishes on it, it was, you know, too much technique, like you know, we just needed to cut back a little bit. And we were at that point when we were so tired that we were like, well, not only do we need to do it for that reason, but also like we need to make it easier so that we can live,
right?
You know, so I think our food would have only benefited from that, you know. But it was fun, and you know, people every now and then still message me and like, can't believe you quit, like looking at the food that I posted and whatever. It's fun to look back on, honestly. Like I miss it a little bit.
Yeah.
I definitely miss that like creative outlet because like, you know, programming can be creative in ways, but it's not the same, right? Like building something that people will use and it might help their day as an engineer, but like to get that instant gratification, like I've made this dish, I've worked my ass off on it, I've you know, fine-tuned it for months before it even goes on the menu, and then to see it hit someone's table and then take a bite and make that, you know, like the face of pleasure, it's like there's nothing better than that, right? Like all of this hard work is translated into a smile, and you're like, fuck, dude, like this is amazing.
It's literally all you need.
Yeah, it's all you need
you're like,
to keep
all right,
going.
back to the abuse.
Right, exactly. Back to it.
Yeah.
But it's worth it, man. It makes it worth it in a way, you know?
Yeah.
So I miss that for sure. Like we still build things that are helping people, and probably on a greater scale being a software engineer. And I think about all the things that we could do to like help the restaurant industry with technology, because I feel like we've got a couple things, but like ultimately like the restaurant industry really hasn't adapted much technology to it, especially fine dining. You know, like fast food places are a little bit different. Like McDonald's, like, you know, it's so fucking set. Like they've got their ketchup and mustard thing and they make a click and it's exactly like, you know, however many grams of ketchup spread correctly across the bun and mustard at the same time. So it's one movement. You know what I mean? Like all that shit is great, but like fine dining doesn't have like technology to help excel it, right? Like it's just it's the same restaurant thing, right? Like we've been doing this thing the same way for a really long time and it works, so let's keep doing it, right? But really, like you could be making your restaurant a million times more efficient, you know, be making more profit if you're like actually being able to in real time see like the amount of food waste, the amount of money you're wasting on food, like blah, 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 you know, I think that it could be huge. And like, I don't know, like I've got a couple ideas of like food things to do to help like fine dining and regular restaurants or whatever. But it's hard to think about, right? Because like, will these people ever adopt something like that?
Is it? Yeah.
Because not only because like we've never needed it, why do we need it now? But also like it's gonna cost money, right? Period.
Mm-hmm.
And like, do they have the extra money to spend on that?
Yeah.
Even if it were going to save them money in the long run, right? Like using this product, we pay $100 a month, whatever, but we ended up saving $1,000 in food waste a month because we were, you know, made aware of it or whatever.
Right.
It just like
it's like a true bill for kitchens.
Yeah, right. You know, that's not my idea, but like, you know, there could be something like that, you know? But I just wonder if it would ever be adopted. Yeah.
Dope, dude.
That's where
fucking
I'm at,
chef turned software engineer. Badass motherfucker.
Living the life. I want to say, for anyone that does think about getting out and wants a resource, like please feel free to contact me. You know, it was a really hard decision to make. You know, like you've been doing this your entire life. You're really fucking good at it. To like decide to go back to being horrible at something. Mm-hmm. It was really hard to do. But
do you feel lost at all?
Oh, I felt entirely fucking lost when I first started. Yeah. But now I'm starting to get good again. And I was telling you earlier, but like I feel that same like energy and excitement that I felt when I first started cooking. And that's super cool to feel again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, a big part of making the move was to just be a healthier mental, you know, to be in a healthier mental state. Mm-hmm. Like I think I'm doing it in a healthier way, right? Like I still get excited and I still sometimes like code after work or whatever because I'm like stoked about the problem we're working on.
Yeah.
But like most days I work 8 hours a week or 8 hours a day, you know? So like I'm stoked about it. And I think that amount of excitement will stay for longer because we're not just like running it into the fucking
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Running as hard as we fucking can.
So
I mean, when you look at even like sports franchises, they have time off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Culinary is like the fucking World Wrestling Federation of just
you get 0 days off.
0 days off. Yeah,
zero
exactly.
fucking days
You're
off.
working 350 days a year, and the other 16 you're spent sleeping.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know?
It's no bueno.
It's no bueno. We'll definitely get there at some point, ladies and gentlemen. Sucio Talk, Jordan, Guevara. We got my man Bobby Cruz, Guillotti Cruz over there, straight from Lajas, Puerto Rico. My bro visiting this week. Shout out to him for producing this show. Show's first producer. He doesn't know, but he's actually been hired. We pay nothing. But peace out, everyone. We'll see you next time.